for Ethereum, thus all our crypto, and that's what ordinals are in 2023, 2024 for Bitcoin, is just tokenized culture on chain that allows us all. So you're doing it with GameFi, you're doing it with Bitcoin Whales to grow communities and culture on chain now.
That's pretty cool. Like, so the thing is, do you think there's a different impact, or is all the same for Ethereum, NFTs, and Ordinals based on the culture? Because some people say that Ordinals culture is much more reserved compared to Ethereum NFT or even Solana NFTs culture, right? What do you think about that?
I think culture is culture, right? Whether it's on-chain or off-chain, whether you're talking about sneakers or talking about fashion, whether you're showing NFTs, culture is always going to be culture. It's just obviously it's different places, right? We have different culture in Asia than we have in the West, right? So naturally you'll have different culture being built on Bitcoin blockchain than you have on Ethereum. But at the end of the day, I think it's something that nobody should try and fight.
I see. And then for you, Zeph, in terms of the gaming culture, right? Like you see the boom of the gaming industry in blockchain. Why we want to build something in Bitcoin, the hardest chain in the world?
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback off of something that Farouk just talked about, comparing it with Ethereum, because that's a key distinction for consumers to understand. Why are people switching over from other blockchains to Bitcoin? And funny story is, I bought an Azuki off of Farouk a long time ago, and I've sold that Azuki. I've sold a lot of my ETH NFTs. That's how I started getting into NFT, was in Ethereum. But one comparison I like to make oftentimes between Bitcoin and Ordinals and ETH NFTs is that ETH NFT projects don't talk to each other. Like, they're very siloed. Each project is trying to build their own community, their own world, their own metaverse. Whereas for Bitcoin NFTs, Bitcoin Ordinals, we are all inscribing on the same inscription number series. We're all inscribing one after another. That's the whole point of Ordinals theory, is to connect all the sats in one finite, countable collection set. And we are all part of that set. And with recursion, what became really magical is we can reference each other's work in our future work. So we can stitch together artworks to create giant artworks. We can stitch together game codes to create bigger games. And that's happened on chain since recursions came out. And it's becoming more and more prevalent. I think vast majority of inscriptions today are recursive. For ordinals, not fungible tokens, but for ordinals, right? So that's what's really different about Bitcoin versus ETH NFTs. It's infinite. The one way to understand it is, I find ETH NFTs like saving stuff on AWS, and Bitcoin ordinals is like using GitHub, and people can fork things up, and people can reference each other, and then you're building a bigger and bigger database, a bigger code base that's open source that anybody else can use. And that's what's really magical about this. Quick point about gaming: very few projects are thinking about doing gaming on Bitcoin. We say we're leading the industry, we're leading the segment, when there's really like no segment to speak of, really. There's like I don't know, 5 projects or something. But the reason for that is most games are thinking of they're putting game logic on chain. They are using blockchain to enable their Web 2 games into Web 3 or. But for Bitcoin, what we're doing, we're saving game code directly on chain. There's no game logics, don't run on chain. We do retro mini games, which is totally the opposite direction from big gaming studios trying to build AAA metaverses and trying to do something with Polygon or Arbitrum. We are going to build. So we're going to shift away from building as a game studio and more so as building game infrastructure to allow more game builders to come here to deploy their games on our hardware device. You can just put an Android app here. You can just put your game assets on Bitcoin, and then we'll figure out a way to make that play and earnable on Bitcoin. And that's I think the future that's going to enable and unlock a lot of the gaming narrative on Bitcoin.
Then that's really dope. I mean, there's really not a lot of people building games on Bitcoin at all, right? Like what you said, if you're the leading, but there's no segment, but you are actually leading a new segment, which is pretty cool, right? Coming next to maybe Tosho and Donnie in terms of collections, right? Collections. You guys both have been in Solana as well, right? You guys understand how culture in Solana is in terms of the collection. And these two guys launched their own collection called Bitcoin Whales and Fomojis, right? Maybe Tosho can start first, like, since you've been in the Solana space, launching collections or degening collections, you yourself in Bitcoin do your own collection, how does it feel? What kind of culture do you see? Is it like, are people like really, really into the trading high cultures, or does art matters? You know, like all of us keep saying in terms of Bitcoin, art, it's all about art, it's about art. But true is that it's all about degen as well, right? Maybe you can touch on that.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess in Ordinals, what's different is, it felt like I'm back in 2017 when Ethereum NFTs weren't a thing. So that's what it feels like for me, because I started 2021. So being in Ordinals feels like, there's more collaborations going on. When I got in here, like there was zero marketplaces. We were trading in trading sheets, OTC. So I would say that, culture in Ordinals, there's a lot of collaborations going on. In contrast with my experience in Solana, it felt different. I like the vibe there. The art is great in both, in different chains, even on Ethereum and Solana. But I would say that, for me in Ordinals, like there's more collaborations going on, and it's just it hits different, at least for me.
How about you, Donnie? Like in terms of Fomojis, like you guys are one of the top collections in the space.
I don't even want to say anything about Fomojis really. And not because I don't like it. Clearly, I like it. I wouldn't. I work for it because I like it. I don't like it because I work for it. You know what I mean? I think that the Department of Justice and governments in general are scared right now because geography doesn't exist anymore. Every time you've made a purchase for something in the last hundreds of years, thousands of years, it was tied to a locale, and that locale was supported by taxes, etc. So now that things are happening nowhere or everywhere, we need another way to express ourselves that makes sense within that, I don't know, zeitgeist, whatever, the framework, let's say. So like you can buy Supreme t-shirts and that makes you feel like a part of Supreme. You wear a Raiders jersey and that makes you feel like a part of that team. Like you got to assign to something. That's part of what makes humans innately human, is that we can believe in these things that kind of don't exist. Like Coca-Cola, you can change the packaging, the recipe, the CEO, every manufacturing facility, the product itself, and it's still Coca-Cola. What is Coca-Cola? No one can define it, but we all know what it is, right? Everything we do makes us, everything humans do specifically, aligns with that concept somehow. So like, how do we do that in a non-geographic way now? Because we don't live in a geography. We live in the internet, which is like nowhere. I think that's where Ordinals, well, not where Ordinals come in. That's where, like, as you said, NFTs come in. Because now we need a persona that is nowhere, that has to be like on the internet somewhere. And how do we do that the best way? We do it somewhere the government can't take it away from us. So if you have a PFP that lives on an IPFS server, or Amazon is in control of, or someone has to pay the bill on, it's not to say that Solana and Ethereum are a bad thing, but they're businesses. And they have developers that like work for Solana, and they have foundations, and they have like heads. There's like, they're tech companies, right? Bitcoin's not a tech company. So when we talk about culture on Bitcoin, as promised, I'm gonna shut up soon. We talk about culture on Bitcoin, we can say that the culture of Bitcoin is different because there is no development structure. The developers of Ordinals and the consumers of Ordinals and everyone in between them is on the same level, finally. It's never been that way before. Every other thing is a tech stack, and someone makes the tech stack and everybody else operates on it. But Bitcoin's like the ocean. It's just, you want to surf or not, you really can't control it. You can't tell it to be somewhere it's not, because it's Bitcoin.
Wow, I mean, you answer kind of like super deep, bro. Like,
I don't like surface level shit. I can't just be like, I like Fomojis because they're like yellow, and like I like them for, like we all like things for different reasons, but the thing that we can get, like if we just shoot down to the core, I think a lot of what I just said has to do with like why we engage in things like that and why it matters now.
That's cool. In terms of how Ordinals has progressed since last year, right? Most of us have seen what's happening in the whole space. We have Ordinals, then we have BRC20 that kind of propagate as well, and now we have runes and everything. In terms of the runes culture, how do you think it started off? Let's be open, right? How do you think runes started off in terms of culture in the space, and how do you think it's going to end up, or what are the use cases, or what do you think is going to be the next thing, right? Because there's a lot of things happening in Bitcoin, in Ordinals itself. We have the Ordinals, it kind of blew up, then date season, and then the one tanking it was BRCs, and then now runes the culture, and this is the new culture thing. So maybe you can go down the line. Like, what do you think about, is runes going to be the next thing?
I mean, it's cool to have meme coins on Bitcoin. It's just wish they were easier to trade. I mean, that's the whole purpose of meme coins, that to Solana's defense, right? You're talking about Sol. Let's go Jupiter and buy sell very fast, and that's why I like Solana as the sky casino. Like Solana to me, and Solana meme coins is the best casino in crypto, right? And that's probably why it popped off. And runes, which I love, like I have a bunch of like pups, and I'm like turbo bullish on RSIC. I think that is arguably one of the best teams in crypto, like at the moment, when it comes to how they've delivered, distributed, and done the whole launch. It's been so flawless. It's fine, but as bullish as I am, a lot of the very, very smart traders that I actually host my show, for example, Ovi and Mando, they don't get runes, but they're very smart traders, right? Or a lot of the people around me aren't really interested in runes per se, because if you want to trade meme coins, then you can go on Solana, or now on Base, or on Blast, or this and that, right? So, I think there's this stickiness issue at the moment with runes itself, but do I think it will get fixed? Yeah, because like you said, Bitcoin has no boss, doesn't work for anyone, and people figure it out. So I'm sure someone in this room right now is figuring out how to make the runes trading better. We may have overhyped it a little bit before it came out. All of us, okay, including myself. I was on the show every day saying, yo, you're not bullish enough on runes. Okay, you too, right?
I was there.
There you go. So we all did it. And then the launch came, like, fuck, it's just BRCs all over again, man. But better, right? Plus Rune sounds better. But I think we'll get it. I think it's just we're early type of conversation, and I guess we'll see how that culture evolves. It's really about ordinals mostly, in my opinion.
Yeah, like how about yourself, Zach? What do you think? Like, is runes to you tied to how ordinals gonna be, or is runes just runes? Like a lot of people think runes is part of ordinals, but you get what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's at a point where we have to find, people have to think about the advantage of runes over BRC20s. When they were trying to tell people about runes. Whereas when BRC20 came out, it was like, oh shit, you can do this on Bitcoin for the first time. So that's like 0 to 1, and now we're going 1 to 2. So that's not, and definitely the overhype part that Fro talked about. I mean, I don't know if you guys thought that, but in the Chinese communities that I'm plugged in, like we all knew that because it's priced into Runestone, it's priced into RSIC Miner, it's priced into all these NFTs. The pre-rune section on Magic Eden, that's priced in the alpha of runes, right? So once the alpha actually drops, once the tokens actually come out, like that's when people sell. That's not when people start buying. So like if you're a smart trader, you would know that. So there's nothing.
That's why I'm not smart.
Yeah, but you sold your Azuki to me though, so that was smart. No, but
you keep saying it like he did that to you. Like you didn't make the choice.
It's like you're blaming somebody.
Touche. I have only myself to blame. No. Where was I? So I think. But back to your point about culture on runes. And this, Casey was on stage at Bitcoin Asia yesterday, openly saying that the current memes on runes all suck, right? And I'm sure some people were offended by that. I kept saying on other people's comments, I was like, he's saying it in a jokingly manner. He looks serious, but he's actually, making fun of Degens kind of in a way to say that, right? And we get it, but like I think culturally some people don't get it. There's a big cultural gap between, like the Western culture jokes and translating it to like the Chinese, the Chinese Degens who, the 4-letter on BRC20 was perfect because everybody could just like come up with random memes. Like one popular BRC20 on Chinese culture was BTCS. BTCS. Like think about how easy that is for people to understand in China, right? They know what BTC is. You don't have to teach them that. So they just, and the inscription that was popular on Ethereum, ETH inscription, ETHS, right? Like, okay, but like with runes, you have to come up with 13 freaking numbers, letters, 13 letters. Like that is way too hard for Chinese people, man. Like that is way too hard for Chinese people who don't speak English. So, like I'm gonna say this on record right now. I'm gonna officially petition Casey to add numbers to runes. Okay?
Wow.
Because
where's Casey at?
Where's Casey's?
Casey, are you here? Aaron, are you here? Listen to Zach.
We told him in person last night, and Casey wrote it down on his phone. Okay? So I think we have a chance. We have a real shot here, guys. Like, numbers, your phone number is gonna transcend culture. Okay, those like 0 to 9. That transcends culture. It's the same across East West and same in every single language that people speak. Like that is what's gonna make a big difference in terms of what meme you can come up with 13 spaces, right? But if you have to use letters, English alphabets, then you're very much limited to the English-speaking culture, and that's very much dominated by advanced Western economies, right? So I think we should be petitioning that, and then we'll see what happens out east.
How about you, Tosho?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo with that. I think I do agree that if we add numbers to runes, it would open up the gateways further. But when it comes to culture with runes, I would say we're still building it up. Remember when they said that what they said before when Ordinals was dead, we made a meme about it. We were just messing, shoot the shit out and just messing around that Ordinals was dead. I think we're just in that phase at the moment. So we have yet to see how the culture is being built here for runes, basically.
Donnie, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I could do this for like 2 hours. Yeah, like everything you asked
We
me,
have
I gotta
time,
cut
bro. We
myself
don't have
short. I know. I'll keep it short.
Yeah.
When people started trading BRCs, it was like 6 months after the launch of the protocol. No one cared at first, so we all are like pretending as though something that just launched can be busy. Like you open a new bar, it might be busy for like a day, but it takes like 2 years to figure out what the identity of that bar is, because you just don't have like the staffing infrastructure or the menu development abilities to make something interesting. And that's what we're seeing with runes. No one can care yet because it kind of doesn't exist. The framework, like the steel beams of the building are there, but there's no chairs inside. We can't sit. So that, and also if we get numbers, there's going to be now the pre-number time. So all the pre-number runes will be valuable. I never thought about that there could be like a, Paleozoic era for like shit coins or whatever. That's kind of cool. What I really wanted to say though is that we didn't know what BRC20s were going to do until well into knowing what BRC.
Casey's in the room.
Do you want me to get him? So we didn't know what BRC20s were going to do until they were like around and somebody started building an indexer that can potentially read smart contracts out of them, right? So like that's cool. We were like, go BRC20s, we like them. It was like dirt bike racing. It was really fucking difficult. And everybody liked it because it was so difficult. People still race dirt bikes. It's not like they're going to be obsolete now. But we're finding new functionality for those things. Runes are, I guess, lightning compatible. That's fun. But majority of what I'm excited about is making something recursively, like making an inscription recursively aware that it contains runes. Because UTXOs, which is where your inscriptions live typically, that acts basically as a wallet for runes. So you can send runes to an inscription. Start brainstorming things to do with that, because there's like unlimited possibilities to what we can accomplish with that.
You know what'd be cool? If you can do emojis on runes as well.
What?
Emojis on runes, like smiley face, just a smiley face and a lot of smiley
that'd be
face.
dope.
Pre-emoji
You
rules.
can pre-emoji, yeah.
The pre-emoji
You
era,
guys love
yeah.
your pre's in Bitcoin, So yeah, let's pre that.
I mean, in terms of runes itself, right? I think there's a lot of people building a lot of infrastructure in runes right now. Like people building their own indexes, people building a swap. Like I myself building a swap right now. We're gonna launch it pretty soon. It's called Odin Swap. Odin is a Norse god, and Rune is Norse. So we are trying to kind of populate again the whole industry in terms of what is to build and how we're gonna build it. Right? It's not easy, but it's gonna be something that's unique in compared to other places as well. Right? In terms of that, I think we're short of time. So the last thing I want to ask you guys is in terms of Ordinals itself, right? What do you think is needed to further grow the culture, to grow the people? Like think about what we have right now in the space. All the infra, all the projects, all the collection, all the data. How do you think we can grow Ordinals further to hit like a $1 trillion market cap or something? You want to start?
I mean, you saw it. I don't think it's like a black or white answer for that. It'll grow with the ecosystem. You just need good projects and good founders and need to support that. Like you saw with ETH, like certain founders were good, but some of them were not good, and those projects died and never came back. And with this cycle, and same thing with Ordinals. Like this is the first cycle of Ordinals, and there's some projects that are gonna live the test of time, and by the time the next bear market is done, and they're not gonna be around. So I think it's just about keep building that ecosystem, like you guys were saying. Like you're building a one for Bitcoin at the end of the day, right? That's the main option, is grow the Bitcoin eco, and that's that. So I think it's just putting more focus on that, right? It's more projects. Like for me, I love Bitcoin puppets from the get-go. We're buying them for like nothing. Why? Because I thought they were hilarious. I don't want a metaverse, and all the ETH projects went around. We overcomplicated the shit out of it all. I need a metaverse. I need a coin. No, dude. Like, we just be something cool that focus on empowering culture and do stuff like this. Like Ordinals Asia, what like Jan and Elizabeth and everybody at that team has put together is actually what you need to do to take that market cap to $1 trillion. And most people don't see or think that way, but they should, because it's by putting these people in the same room, and when he goes, yo, someone go build that. That's how you built that $1 trillion market cap.
Zeph, your thoughts?
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Farouk, for pointing out that hosting this event, Ordinals Asia, is part of bringing Bitcoin or Ordinals to $1 billion market cap. So $1 trillion market cap. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that, because Orzar and Orz Games were both co-hosts for the event too. Besides X first. So just pointing that out.
Thanks for shilling, bro.
Yeah. Let's show ourselves while we're on stage. I completely agree. I think we are seeing a lot of, to your earlier point about Solana degens not coming to Runes. Base degens not coming to Runes. The trading experience on Sol and Base, I've tested myself. Yeah, freaking fantastic, right? It's so smooth, it's so rapid. There's no latency at all. You just click and bam, you're there. We are going to get that trading experience on Bitcoin very very quickly with layer 2s, right? And they're bridging all of this. By opening the floodgate with layer 2s, there's going to be bridges that go over to Solana, bridges that go over to Base, to all these other meme coin chains. So you could be trading runes on Sol. You could be trading runes on Base. So I think we'll very quickly see that. I mean, isn't that already happened with pubs? Like that's
with pubs.
Yeah, exactly. So that I feel like that's going to happen. More and more so with other projects, and I think it's only a matter of time before the infrastructure, the liquidity, and the projects and the community are going to be all ready to take runes to the next level.
Toshio.
Yeah, I guess for me, just like what he said, it's not black and white. It's it's subjective. I guess what we need is more narratives to or other than that, building the brands for all of these projects that's coming in Ordinals. Because once we do better in proliferating brands here in Ordinals, then we're gonna onboard more users to Bitcoin as well, and we're gonna achieve different milestones together here as a community, even as a culture. So that's why for us, we in our own studio, we decided to venture out with an animation studio, so we can do cartoon animated shorts, just even make memes, just like what Farouk said, like he liked the puppets, from the get-go. So I guess what I'm trying to say here, it's all about storytelling too and narratives.
Donnie.
I think it's already happening. I think that this conference is not making Ordinals better. Ordinals made this conference happen. And the fact that we're all in this room is an indicator that things are already going in the direction that we want them to go. And even if it's not just to get rich, it's like, because we want to be where we want to be. Like, why? It's kind of an absurd thought to buy something that you intend to not have someday. It's kind of weird. We do it all the time. It's called trading. But like, people in this room are buying things they actually want to have, which is really weird. I haven't seen a lot of this before. Everyone is just being where they want to be, and it keeps happening. And the difference between last year and now, small compared to the difference between today and next year, I think.
All right. Do we have some time for questions? No, right? Oh, no. All right. So thank you, everyone. Do you have any last words? Anyone of you have last words? No?
I love you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for everything.
Give
everyone an applause.
I love you too, man. I love you guys. Nakeeb Noor. That was Toshio, Donnie, Zoth, and Farouk. Awesome. All right, guys. Moving right along. Fasten your seatbelts. Trays in the upright position, along with your seats. We're going to talk about Blob, Brains and Degenerates, experimental art on Bitcoin, and our moderator, who is up on stage before lunch, AOI. AOI, are you in the house right here? We got AOI coming on stage. How about a lot of juice for AOI, founder of AOI, everybody? Come on, put your hands together. Little post-lunch energy.
Everybody.
That's great. And would you like to? I'll just call everybody up. Grace, everybody. Grace, come on up. Grace is the founder of Diamond Fingers. Some juice for Grace. Yeah. All right. Founder of On-Chain Monkey. We have Danny Young, everybody. Danny. All right. Woo. On-Chain Monkey. Boom. And the founder of NeuroRealm, Neuro, coming on stage. And who's this guy? The creator of Ordinals protocol and runes? Casey, everybody! Holy shit! Woo! Guys, this is like seeing like Bono at a pub unplugged. Over to you. Thanks, everybody. Yeah.
Man, I am so excited to speak to all of you guys. Man, art on Bitcoin is going crazy at the moment. First of all, I'd love a quick introduction on each of you guys. What inspires you to create art on Bitcoin, and why do you do what you do? Yeah, please.
So hi, I'm Grace, and I launched this collection called Diamond Fingers, which is sub 10K Ordinals, and then I have been recently creating 3D animated stories and films that I want to put on chain as well. So a lot of it is very much inspired by the permanence that we can have as artists, and also permanence, decentralization, but also being able to have, like, we're building art on the foundation where money is minted, and I think that is so powerful because historically artists have been left out of the financial system, and then if we can actually create all types of artwork on Bitcoin, then we're basically like, like drawing on money, and and then people can collect it. So I think it's really awesome. And thank you so much to all these people for pioneering a lot of what is possible today.
Hi, I'm Danny Yang. I love Bitcoin. I've been building community around Bitcoin for a number of years. I guess my background, I started the Stanford Bitcoin meetup back in 2013, and I built a few companies on Bitcoin. And when Ordinals came out, I just knew I had to, use this to build, actually use Bitcoin as a medium of art to create art on Bitcoin. So I'm the creator of On-Chain Monkey.
Blob. So I kind of I'm feeling something that I need a little help with. All right, can everybody stand up with me? I'm kind of feeling a little bit of blob that I need to get out. Everybody, let's stand up. Let's have some fun together. Let's stand up. Everybody stand up. All right, what I want to do is I want to wiggle. I just want to, let's vibe, okay? What is blob? What is blob? That is the question. When I think about blob, I kind of just do a little, can I get a little shoulder shrug? Can we just vibe? Can we go a little afternoon, just blob it out? Let's just blob it out with me. Just blob it out. Okay, so on the count of 3, I just want you to say the word blob, and I just want you to breathe. I want you to exhale. Just let it all out. Grace, you want to do it with me? You want to do it with me? Okay, so blob. Ooh. Blob. Blob. Ooh, okay, good. Elok, can you show me how you like to blob it out? Ooh, arms up. Okay, let's do an arms up blob, all right? Ready? On the count of 3, just arms in the air. Let's do a blob, all right? 1, 2, 3. Okay, lovely. All right, we're going to end this now here. On 3, as loud as you can, just let it out. Just let your heart sing. Just say blob. Put your hands up in the air. One on the count of 3, hand in the air, and blob, all right? 1, 2, 3, blob. All right. Give yourselves a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. A round of a blob. All right. So my name is Neuro, and I'm the founder of Blob. And amongst many of other things, people probably know me for creating a community organization called Cypherpunk Lab, where we try to learn how to code. We help people share their art. And in this process of me learning how to tell my story on Bitcoin, Blob was created. It was a meme that I shared as a joke and kind of went viral. And it's been this really fun thing that people in the community have just taken and run with. It's been something that's been really special, where people across the East, West, it doesn't matter what language you speak, the word blob is something that people say and it makes people feel something. And oftentimes people smile, and it's become something fun. So we've turned this, we've just tried to vibe with that energy and really make Blob. One of our community members said blob means blobs loving other blobs, or Bitcoiners love other Bitcoiners, and that's really the spirit of it. It's we put a lot of work this year into, folks like Bop and Elok and others in Cypherpunk Lab, and myself with putting the brain on Bitcoin and through art. But the idea is that the blob it's the Play-Doh. The blob is the thing that we can all kind of allow ourselves to be kids and have some fun with. So thank you for joining me in that fun dance. But that's the vibe with Blob. It's really a chance to try to be together. Whatever language you speak, wherever you come from, it's something that can bring us together under, tough times. There's always fun, and so that's really the spirit of it. So Blob.
Yo, what's up, everybody? My name's Casey, and I'm here because I hate the government. The government is the big enemy, right? And I think that Bitcoin is one of the few things that can actually stand up to the government. And all this like new activity and users on Bitcoin, all these like degens, they just want to make things and sell it to each other and trade. And they want the government they want to use Bitcoin, and they want the government to leave them alone while they do it. So that's the whole purpose for me of all this is get people on Bitcoin, on the Bitcoin network, doing things, and the government wants to stop them, and the Bitcoiners are like, no, screw you. Yeah, so that's me.
That's awesome. So I really want to go deep in the artwork you've created, Casey. Like Inscription 0, the skulls, and then the parent-child to that, more skulls. And then recently under Fun, you have this wild photographic sort of, like, just wild photography. Like, what is that all about?
I mean, so, like, in probably, like, 2011, I was looking on Etsy, and I saw this little round skull that somebody had hand-painted. And then I made a little pixel art copy of it. And then fast forward to, like, 10 years later, we had made Inscriptions, but it wasn't out yet. And I was like, okay, well, we read a lot of tests, but I should probably test this on mainnet. So I looked, I was like really cheap, even though sats were probably like 1 sat per VByte. I didn't want to spend any money on making an Inscription. So I found the smallest piece of like original art that I had on my computer, and that was the skull. There's no like deep meaning behind any of it. I should probably pretend that there's like a secret hidden plan. But yeah, that's it. It was a piece of content that was like under a kilobyte. And then Fun. Fun is just, it's all Parker Day, a friend of mine. We went to high school together. She was into photography in high school. We always kept in touch. And in like 2017, maybe, she sort of had this like breakout collection of photographs that I thought was really compatible with NFTs. And I bothered her to like do NFTs at the time. And she didn't, which she deeply regrets. But then, yeah, it was, we were talking about I wanted to do something with her, and so she started working on this. I started helping fund working on it, which is very expensive, incredibly expensive. Film, camera, makeup, crew, okay, not cheap. Yeah, and started to inscribe them, and I'm gonna sell them. Yeah.
What was the creative direction behind that? Because like I was going through the photographs, and every single one I was like, this is so crazy. Like the outfits to the poses to the makeup to the whole experience of it. So, like, were you styling every single person, or what was the concept behind that?
So it's all Parker. I mean, it's sort of her like visual style, doing these very colorful portraits that don't have any particular like time and place, but are maybe sort of a throwback to the 2000s in terms of like fashion, style, and makeup. Yeah, so it's all Parker. I can't take any credit for that. It's really funny. We started talking about it before Ordinals or Inscriptions was a thing, and we wrote like this little contract, like what she was going to do and what I was going to do. And her part on the contract was, like take all the photos, and my part on the contract was like build like NFT system, or like deploy the NFT smart contracts, which at the time was going to be Ethereum, but then later it all turned into like Ordinals and Inscriptions. Yeah, so that's the story.
Awesome. It's an amazing collection. Very, very vibrant. Let's go back to you, Noor. You guys just did an epic rare sat, amazing Inscription. Tell me more about sort of what went into that.
Yeah, that was yeah, I mean, it was definitely epic in a lot of ways. So it was really cool. So what happened with that was we were actually gathered at Cyberpunk Lab in San Francisco, which is our home base. It's a community hub for people who want to do art, and there's a gallery, and we were there for the Happening. There was a Happening party that was being run by D++, who's a Bitcoiner, Bitcoin core contributor, educator, and so she was doing a party, and we had some of us doing some rune degenning as well in the back, and some folks who were kind of trying to I don't really understand the full details, but some folks were maybe trying to work with miners to try to get that epic in that first go round in our blob community, and we're kind of loosely keeping us. And I thought that was crazy. It didn't make any sense to me, and I said this sounds like a scam. It just didn't make any sense. So that the happening occurred. We saw that nobody nobody had mined the SAT through some other mechanism, and it was an entity called Via BTC, I guess, could mine it. I didn't know about them. We were we were at the party, and it was a good time there, and I didn't really think that much about it. And I think it was a day later or a couple days later, a couple folks in our Chinese community, Dr. Jing Li, who is a moderator and in Ordicord and has done a lot of the Chinese translations for the Ordinals handbook, and XTB reached out and said that it turns out that via BTC, I guess our blob holders, and so the community had gotten pretty excited that wow, that's blob holders have this epic SAT, and so they told me that they had raised some Bitcoin and wanted to take a shot at seeing if they could win this in the auction. And they had around 10 Bitcoin at the time. And from what I understood, just general estimate was like, that was amazing. That was really, it was inspiring that they had raised that money, but it just did not seem anywhere what I understood to be what was, going to be the amount that it was going to go for. And so I just kind of started to contact people, try to understand what is the amount that this could be. And from Sotheby's, some others, it was like above 20 Bitcoin for sure. It looked like it was going to be how much it would be going for. And so I asked some of these community leaders if they would like me to see if others might be interested in kind of coming together to pool some funds and actually go through the full legal process. This was a pretty unorthodox and atypical way of selling the SAT. It was actually through a Chinese exchange that was available only for Chinese, or rather not available to U.S. entities. So, I'm as a U.S. citizen, I couldn't participate in it. So we, spoke with some different lawyers, and they basically showed us, a mechanism by which folks who are already established in China could participate in this, and there was a way that, through accredited investors, other things, people could actually participate in this. So yeah, it's kind of a long story short, but we got a lot of folks in the Ordinals community who have been around for quite a while. Just made phone calls, and people were pretty excited. Okay, well, what if instead of Long Island iced tea, people who came in the last runs and used the bull market type of vibes to just do advertisements and stuff? What if the community could actually own this SAT and do something with it? So people were pretty excited, and kind of in less than 12 or 24 hours, we had kind of raised more than 30 Bitcoin total.
Could you tell us a bit more about because I spoke to one of your developers, and he was saying that the construction of the visual artwork that you guys created was 15 different inscriptions coming together to form it, and it was only 15 kilobytes for this immersive. Can you talk us through that creative process of how you created that?
Oh, thanks. I really appreciate you asking about the art. I guess I'm so used to people who are just going straight into the trading so yeah, this inscription was really special. So it's a part of a collection that I thought of at the very start of when I learned about Ordinals in February of 2023, called the spikes. A spike is the shorthand notation of when a neuron fires an action potential. And one of the most beautiful things about existence that I believe in is this human consciousness. And so I always thought, well, what if artistically, we could start by thinking about a cool way to preserve human consciousness on Bitcoin. It was a crazy idea, but I was like, well, how could we maybe do that and eventually scientifically get there? And so over the course of this past year, I was playing around with a lot of ideas, what is worth kind of preserving. I've experimented with putting brain data on chain, et cetera. And through a lot of the help by Elok, who's a great videographer, coder, and Bop, who is inscribed over 100 different coding libraries, to enable 3D work, as well as building on the work that Danny and many others have done. We basically were able to create a scene that we're all really proud of as being the first Spike, which is a really fun 3D audio-visual scene that's like a music video. You really have to just go and watch it. There's no other way to say kind of what it is, other than it's 1 minute and 30 seconds long, and it's a journey. It's all my original music. I played drums my whole life, so it's with myself and Steak Toshi, who's a brilliant musician. We added There he is. The man, I can't see in the lights,
Amazing.
bro. That's the blob guitar that's been used in some of those tracks. We recreated all aspects of the song, the audio-visual experience, and yeah, we used Grimes' AI voice, which you can use. She likes to say fuck copyright, like Casey says that too. It's like I fully believe in similarly CCO, and like it was like when I learned of that, I was like, okay, this is badass. This is cypherpunk. Like this is something we wanted to include into this. So yeah, parts of it have Grimes' AI voice in it, and it just was this really epic celebration of all the things that I love about Ordinals, the community. A lot of different projects ultimately came and supported this vision, and so yeah, it's this piece of art that started with a vision I had, but it's included so many others and many other projects across the space. Kind of helped make this happen, and now we have a lot of the 3D tooling, a lot of things in place for others. So anybody in the audience, anyone here, if you ever want to do a 3D audio-visual scene, aka if you want to do a movie, a music video, if you want to do anything, tell a story in that way, we'd love nothing more than for you to do something even bigger, better, crazier than what we've done. This is meant to inspire people. This isn't meant to be the best thing ever created. It's meant to just show that like we want to build on, like an epic thing that I believe on is to build on each other's work. Like I think that's epic, and so that's really what this is all about.
Awesome, man. That work was actually very, very inspiring. When it came out, I was just like, holy shit, the bar's been raised. It was really, and to see the file size being so small as well, I think that was really like very, very impressive. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the power of code. Cypherpunks write code. Everybody should learn to code. Definitely worth it.
I agree. So let's go to Danny next. You guys were the first to bring on-chain generative art to Bitcoin. What inspired you to do that? To inscribe the P5JS libraries and all those tools? Why?
Yeah, so we just heard about actually two ideas for art on Bitcoin and how to use the medium, right? So Casey, when he did inscription 0 with skull, right? Pixel art, like that art. So one thing we understand is that we will all share is that Bitcoin block space is very precious, very valuable, and it's also very expensive as Bitcoin gets adopted, right? So pixel art is actually one of the type of art forms on Bitcoin that will be relatively possible even when fees are high. And then what you were talking about is actually using code, right? So generative art, right? So that's what we really focused on, from the beginning. So one of our inscriptions, one of the ones that I'm really like we put a lot of work into this inscription 2021-9. It's one from early February, and that one is it's basically a generative art. It's a inscription that's code that generates the art, right? And it generates actually 10,000 monkey images in this case, right? These are SVG images of 10,000 unique monkeys, right? So that was early February, and we showed that, well, hey, even though block space is precious, you can still generate a large collection, right? 10,000 is actually a rather large collection on Bitcoin. And this is how, in the future, one type of art will kind of respect the medium of Bitcoin and be able to also use, or rather future artists can do collections and art in this way. That was kind of the first step, right? And then the second step, this was early February 2023. Then later in February, we inscribed a slightly bigger collection, or rather, in file size. The collection was actually smaller. So we actually inscribed 3.js, and we used that to do 3D artwork on Bitcoin. This was which became the Dimensions 300 collection. So we showed how to do that, and we also published to GitHub to say, well, here is how you can actually do generative art collections using 3.js or P5JS. And we also inscribed a decompression library, so you could basically inscribe compressed code to that decompresses automatically. And this is using basically Bitcoin as this kind of unique medium to create art. And then it actually, the OCM Genesis collection, the one I described earlier of Inscription 2021-9, that one, even though we had the digital artifact with all 10,000 monkey images, to actually be able to distribute them so people get the specific monkey image, that actually took many months because of kind of difficulty of actually basically doing parent-child with a large collection size, right? Doing batch description. So all these kind of developed over basically 9 months, and then we released those on Block 9 Sats too as a 10K collection. So it was kind of a year-long process of getting this particular Gen art out, and also building with community members to create more art on Bitcoin.
So where do you see the future intersection between art and technology and code? Like, what is going to happen in 6 months' time? Are you going to, create another library that's going to do magical things? What's next?
Yeah, I think what's next is actually better infrastructure for everyone, both collectors and for artists, to be able to actually use Bitcoin in a nice way. I mean, right now, we're all very early in this space, so it's actually you have to build your own tools, and it's actually kind of painful, but you really get to learn Bitcoin when you're doing this. But yeah, in a few months, I think there'll be nice platforms where artists can launch their work, relatively, more kind of cookie cutter and easier, and also the collectors will start to appreciate the kind of using Bitcoin. The explorers and the marketplaces can also be more art focused. I think it's still hard to appreciate the art on Bitcoin in the current infrastructure, but we'll get more of that and more education. How Bitcoin and art on Bitcoin actually works and can be appreciated.
Awesome, very, very exciting. So Grace, on your artwork you have "No one controls Bitcoin, freedom, technology of the world." What is this about, and why? Tell us more about this collection.
Yeah, sure. So when I was working on the Diamond Fingers, at the time it was very much like a lot of Bitcoin maxis were like, oh, you can't do this on the blockchain, you can't do this to earn money. And so I think a lot of what we're trying to say with the collection is very much like no one controls Bitcoin, and we're free to do whatever we want. So that's kind of like how we've been able to like do so much innovation on this, and there's like no censorship. So yeah, it's really about decentralization, and Bitcoin is the freedom technology. So I'm really excited to be able to keep innovating on Bitcoin. So more recently I've actually been working on a project to decentralize Hollywood, and so being able to like build that on Bitcoin, where we are building a 3D animation platform on Bitcoin for anyone to be able to create their own Disney studio, create their own Pixar studio, and create immersive media entertainment. So not just JPEGs anymore, but it's going to be like 3D animation. It's going to be like music video. I'm a music artist as well, so I've already inscribed my songs on Bitcoin. And so something I'm super excited to test out is being able to create like 3D animated music video for my songs, and also really pioneer a new way for music artists to be able to monetize their music as well. So it's like a new way to engage with art.
So how do you do that? Because on Bitcoin there's like a file size limitation. So when you're incorporating all these different components, is it kind of like what do you do to achieve that?
Yeah, so a lot of it is with recursion, and so when Danny inscribed 3JS, I was so excited because a couple of years ago I was actually working with 3JS, and I was working with brain activity. So it's really funny that we're all like sitting on this panel, because back in 2017 I was doing art installations with brain activity, and then I wanted to put it on chain. That was kind of like the first thing I wanted to put on chain. So it's very much like, let's store consciousness on chain, but it was like Ethereum, and it was like I wasn't sure how to put all that data on chain, and people at the time were like, oh, you could put the video on there, and but I'm super excited that now we can actually like put all this data on chain. I think for me the inspiration started with like 3JS being on chain, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I can like do so much generative code with that. I can like it just becomes a playground. So if you're already if you're an artist or someone who wants to like get involved with this, you can pick up 3JS, you can pick up P5JS, you can also like use ChatGPT to learn how to code. And then because those libraries are all on chain, all you have to do is just like call the library, and then it's just like working like a website or like the internet, where you can just like call different files and create like more immersive experiences. And yeah, it kind of like becomes like an infinite playground, because you can just keep calling things. So what we're doing is like, you can store like an asset on chain, but then keep calling that to build more things out. Yeah.
So where do you see the space in 6 months to a year? How do you see the future of art on Bitcoin?
I'm super excited for like more different types of art. I think for the past couple of years, it's been very much like pixel art or JPEGs, and because yeah, those are like the smaller file sizes. But I think now with recursion, we're able to create like base assets. So for example, even with music, that's something I'm super excited about with like music and film on Bitcoin. Is like with music, you can maybe like store samples, stems on Bitcoin, and then you can use recursion to call those samples and then make a full song. And so that's like one idea for how you can do music on Bitcoin. And then for films, it's like a lot of like what we're doing, where it's like you can store maybe like a base GLB file, or you can work with shaders, which is code, and then you can use recursion to kind of like call those assets into a scene and start animating them. So that is something that I'm like deeply exploring right now, and super excited to see more of that.
Amazing. So I've got a question for everybody here. Can you share impactful moments or successes where your projects resonated with audiences or sparked meaningful discussions? Like, what are these moments where, you know, because of Bitcoin Ordinals, because of what you guys have all done, where you've had this light bulb moment where, you know what, I'm changing the world?
I guess I could say something. So one thing that took me quite a while was to be open about like my story and who I am. I have something on the mood spectrum that I deal with. Might be bipolar type 2. I take medications for it. I've been able to come off of some of those meds and by just making art. But one thing that definitely changed my life was, you know, meeting Casey in February of 2023. It was really a time in my life where my brother had passed away a few years earlier after battling bipolar and schizophrenia. And I knew at that point in my life that I'd been working as a physician, I was working in cancer, and after that I was like, I want to do something in neuropsych. I want to do something for mental health, but I had no idea how. And I met Casey and at this meetup in Oakland, and Casey, you were so friendly. You were like this dude who like knew all this crazy shit about Bitcoin. Bitcoin was awesome. We were tinkering around with it. And Elok had made this crazy ghost terminal, like a browser kind of an experience on Bitcoin. And Casey looked at it and was like, I have no idea like what this is, but I don't want to like accidentally kill it. So like, just keep me updated, I guess, on what you guys are trying to do, so I don't accidentally like wipe it out. And I thought that was really cool, actually. Like this dude who's like building this protocol on Bitcoin, like that was a huge deal. And to actually be like, you know, like even though I don't fully follow what you guys are trying to do, like the goal's not here to just kill people's experiments. And so after that, actually, it just really hit me like, you know what, I have no idea how I want to put any of my work on Bitcoin or this idea around neuropsych stuff, but I just knew like I wanted to try on Ordinals. And it's taken me a year to kind of start to figure out little examples of that. But, you know, I just wanted to say thanks, Casey, because without you doing this, like, I wouldn't have this medium to do it. A lot of us would not have an opportunity, and I'm eternally grateful for you, man. Thank you.
I'm just, you know, having fun on the computer. But yeah, thank you. No, I think for me, maybe it was the first time, it was the first Ordinals Asia event where, you know, like I had been sort of in hiding for a while and decided to come out and see people. And there were like all these people who were excited about this this crazy bullshit. So that was like the moment that it was like made a little bit more real for me. Like, damn, you know, there's people like this thing.
So recently Runes launched, and then after Runes launched, people were starting to inscribe artwork on Runes as well. What are your thoughts on that? Was that like a happy accident, or do you think Runes is future of art as well?
I mean, you know, degens are going to degen, right? I mean, like, I mean, I think it's incredibly dumb. You had this you know, punk 178 like inscriptions, you know, with like one punk and like, no, it's fun that they're trying things, and you know, it was intentional to be able to include an inscription in a rune so that you could, you know, do something. But of course, like any new technology, degens are going to like run it back turbo, like all the playbooks, you know, like, oh, we've got fungible tokens. Let's do non-fungible tokens on fungible tokens. And, you know, okay, we've got tokens now. ICO boom, let's go. DeFi again, future finance. We're going to put lettuce on the blockchain. So, you know, that's a true measure of success when degens run back all the scam playbooks that you thought had died in like 2013, you know, and they're back with a vengeance.
Is that experimental art?
Yeah, that's experimental art. Yeah.
What about you, Danny?
Yeah, I think the light bulb moment, or when it was, so Ordinals is actually a combination of ordinal theory and inscription. I think the inscription is actually the really significant thing that makes this all possible. I mean, ordinal theory is, I mean, the idea of that you can track a Satoshi, right? The UTXO thing. So that's very native to Bitcoin, and people have thought about that, you know, like kind of invented that a number of times over the years. But adding the inscription, right? Actually, that is what really like made a huge difference and made all this that we're talking about possible. Because that inscription part, that data part tied to the ordinal, is really powerful. And really, when you boil down ordinals, it's actually a very elegant and simple, protocol about basically what's an ordinal, what's an inscription, and how did the two pair, right? That's the core thing, and that's why I think this, like when we first looked at this in the beginning of 2023, why this will be something, back then, right, when it was very unclear what it will become, but it was still, because it's so simple and elegant, it would be something more meaningful and bigger, and that's what we see, right? It's actually, we're building all these things off of it, and even including runes. Like runes popped up because of, and BRC20 is all because of, that original elegant idea of the ordinal theory tied to the inscription, and then like we're talking about doing generative art and these code libraries and recursive inscriptions. These are all, just built off of this original, first idea. And then I think the parent-child provenance thing about doing collections, we were pushing that early on too. It was very confusing for people. I think it's still confusing for people. What the heck is, what are these, like we're talking about like this, like directed acyclic graphs and all this stuff, and it's like, people don't want to hear that, or even parent-child provenance. You don't want to hear collections. So I think, you can do collections of for NFTs on Bitcoin now, and it's, generative art would be very cool. So I think it's all kind of tied together, but from the original, like there's those three things: the ordinal theory, the inscription, and how the pairing of the two.
Amazing.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's just the ability for us to be able to write data onto Bitcoin, and then it's living forever onto like the nodes that are running, and this gives way to a lot of experiments and just like media, not just like entertainment media, but also journalism. It's like there's a huge potential there. So actually, I don't even think that we've seen like the impact that it could have, because, for example, with Diamond Finger Collection, a lot of it is about censorship and being anti-censorship and freedom of speech. So something that I would want to expand on the collection with is working with journalists who have been censored, and maybe in like different countries where they spoke up against the government and they were put in jail, and then they've been censored. They can no longer speak to the public. But then now, if we can put their words on chain, like that lives on forever, and that's gonna like, even though they're behind bars, like their words are gonna be on chain. They're gonna be on Bitcoin nodes, and like for generations, people can like look back to Bitcoin as kind of like maybe like a historical textbook of like the source of truth or something. So I think that's super exciting for like the future of journalism. Yeah, and then for the future of media, I think. I'm super excited. I like to be working with what I'm doing, because I feel like traditionally, media entertainment has been so centralized in like whether it's Hollywood or any other like movie production studio. But if we can kind of like give that ability to storytell into the hands of like billions of people, so what I always say is like, Pixar exited to Disney for $7 billion, but then if we give animation tools to 7 billion people so that they can become their own Pixar studio, like the stories that people will be telling without needing like a central middleman to be like, oh, I don't like this story, I don't like that. We'll have more diversity, we'll have more representation, and then because it's on Bitcoin, like creators and artists can already like generate revenue for themselves without needing to like pitch a publisher and like get distribution.
Amazing. So another question, if you could do anything you wanted on Bitcoin Ordinals related back to experimental art, what would it be? What would be the most wildest, craziest project that you would want to do, if anything was possible?
I mean, I guess I could go and, I pitched the title for this talk. I was thinking about like, I think one of the things I observe about the space now is I think like people kind of accept that there is this form of degeneracy or skeptical nature of this market, and that's just the way it's going to be. And I think that there's some truth in that, but I mean, nobody knows the future, and I like it's fun. I mean, I totally have fun with all of it. But I guess when it comes to like thinking about what could we really build or what could we do differently, I guess like Ordinals always appealed to me in Bitcoin because of one, preserving. Like every time I inscribe something, I think of my daughter who's 3 right now, and I kind of think about how is she going to navigate this. You know, like I want it to be in a way that no one needs to give her instructions. I want her to like be able to freely explore like what were other people putting on chain, why, and come to her own ideas. So I think that's an amazing part, and I think the way that Ordinals, you know, the Explorer is crafted is nice, but everybody can run their own Explorer, you know, to tell stories how they want. So I think actually that is a big component. I think it would actually be pretty cool to see more people run Explorers if they might have a way to tell a particular story. Like I think that in work in research and in there's a term called collaborative sense making where it's like how do groups of people come to understand certain things, and like a lot of times it's like how do you enter into a certain subject, or how do you even like approach something, like what's the first door you open. And I think the Explorer that you view Ordinals inscriptions from is a really interesting thing to think about how people might actually like navigate through a particular story. Sure, you could start by just saying inscription number or whatever, but I think that could be one way outside of that. I think, you know, of course, for me, the big crazy idea is like, yeah, how do you preserve consciousness? But not only that, how do you actually like create different experiences? Like, what if we could look at art on Bitcoin and it actually was interactive and we could manipulate it with our brain? Or what if we could do something like, what are the really crazy ideas that just, you know, don't seem possible? That's what I'm kind of interested in. Who's crazy enough to, besides me, to think it might be a decent idea? There's a lot of people, you know, folks for sure up in this panel, people doing even the smallest experiments. Like it's really fun. Like people have all sorts of their own takes on different things, and I think it doesn't have to be like humanity altering thing. I think it's like if you have an idea that you think is that like the crazier your idea is, the more fucking awesome it probably is what I would say. Like I just hope that we have this culture. Like the cypherpunks were fucking weird people, man. Like people were like blowing up buildings, like shit, you know. And then at the same time, the most badass mathematicians. And I think we need to celebrate the degeneracy. We need to celebrate like the crazy experiments. And I think, experimenting with like, what if we could actually like, I'm not saying like go fucking load up on mushrooms and have like a, you know, like near-death experience watching art or something, but like, what can we actually do that is different? Like, that's what I would say is, and things that are different, I think are worth exploring and asking why. And I think one of the things that I saw that I think caught a lot of people's attention, you know, is this rune Wanko Manko, you know, that built off of Casey's story. That was a story that I think a lot of people, you know, read it and were like I don't think I've read something quite like that. I mean, it was, but like when I read the story, actually, like, you know,
it was an epiphany.
As crazy as it was, dude, maybe I'm fucking nuts, but I was like, no, this is art. Like, this is capital A art. I'm probably crazy to think that, but it's one of those things where it's amazing to watch people. The harder people fade things, the more weirded out they are. Like, there's, you know, like great art makes you feel stuff, you know, and I hope that we can just do weird shit, do cool shit, and feel things, because, like, otherwise, what's the point of being here? So Wanko Manko, I guess. I don't know.
It's interesting you talk about the Explorer, because it's always like you've got so many people inscribing and creating artworks, but you can't really filter out via, you know, strange, whatever. It's always via certain parameters, which don't really, I don't think it really connects back to art, you know, so it's very interesting you mentioned that. What about you, Casey?
I mean, my answer is probably like very boring and very specific. I've done some stuff in the past with chains of audio reactive pixel shaders. So you have these pixel shaders that take the output of the previous pixel shader as input and apply a transformation to it that depends on the audio that is playing, whatever that might be. And it's like a super powerful, very like fun technique that I did a couple versions of. And I always thought that I was going to like, okay, once this like inscriptions thing is done, then I'm going to get back to that. I'm going to make some audio reactive generative art and make inscriptions. I haven't done that. I've been too busy. But yeah, I'd like to go back and do that. There are like fun ideas waiting to be explored there. Yeah.
we have a Journey of Art show in Iceland in September.
Nice.
So if you would love to be part of that, we'd love to have you there.
I'll start cranking, you know?
Yeah, awesome. I think we are out of time now, but a round of applause for these legends of Bitcoin Ordinals.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Everybody, thank you so much. Keep it going. Hey, we have AOI's colleague, Pete, coming to the stage. There's Pete. And we're just going to keep the ball absolutely rolling. You're going to moderate.
There we go.
And we're going to be talking about elements, storytelling. AOI, third time on stage today. Kaboom Town. Warm round of applause for element storytelling with AOI, everybody. Let's go. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for staying here. Yeah, we'd love to talk about sort of elements, which is our sort of first Journey of Art show in Iceland.
Yeah, it's an incredible, experience that's being built over here at AOI. And first of all, to start off, for anyone in the audience that doesn't exactly know what AOI is, we're not just a matcha bar, as you can see over at the back. We are always focused on where art is going, where is it being built, and how can we best highlight the leaders in this space. So to begin with, I'd like to ask you, AOI, when did you start to look at the future of Ordinals and start to recognize that here's a space where as a group, as a movement, we can focus and bring something new and bring some of the leaders from the Ethereum space into the Ordinals community and create something that doesn't just make permanent the importance of highlighting great art, but also introduces something new and exciting to the audience?
Yeah, so I would say you'd have to go back to the first time that someone told me about Ordinals. This was probably the first 10, 20 inscriptions. And when I first saw it, I was like, what is this? Like, people are just inscribing, there's a spaghetti carbonara recipe and just all this random stuff. And in the beginning, I was just like, oh, I honestly, I didn't quite understand it. Then over time, the rare sats and looking at sort of the technology layer of how people inscribe generative art in particular, that sort of caught my attention. So going back to, I guess, what AI has done in the past, right? We were one of the first people to bring some of the top Tezos artists over to Ethereum. And when that happened, the artists, 10x their floor prices and really found incredible success. Nowadays, right, working with the same group of artists, we want to bring them to the Bitcoin Ordinal space. And a lot of the top generative artists, the first thing they said to me was, Bitcoin is not environmentally friendly.
Hey guys, totally from a place of love and respect, I want people to hear you. So I'm just gonna ask some people in the front to make it so that other people can hear you. Just 30 seconds. Hello, everybody in the back. Hi, guys. I am just asking everybody, there's space upstairs for networking. Please network. Yes, indeed. You must meet people, and I insist you meet people that you don't know here. But please just go upstairs. Take the stairs, please. If you're here to listen, please listen. If you're not, please go upstairs. Thank you very much. Back to you guys. Thanks so much.
Okay, well, I hope everyone's enjoying the AOI matcha bar at the back. But yeah, so back to sort of elements. We work a lot of different generative artists, and our goal was to really bring 9 of the top generative artists onto Bitcoin Ordinals. These are guys that sort of was on Tezos, moved to Ethereum when Ethereum became proof of work. And there was a lot of challenges. One of the things that we tried to work out was how can we create the first eco-friendly, green mined art inscriptions. So we've been speaking a lot of different mining partners, and I think we've sort of sorted that out. And then the next stage was everything on Bitcoin Ordinals is all about innovation. It's all about sort of game theory and creating incredible experiences. So for us, it was like, we can't just do another drop where he's an artist, buy his artwork, that's it. So for us, it's about, you'll see in the back, you'll see the artifact on the TV screen. So this is some sort of sci-fi object that comes out of space and it lands on Iceland and it starts terraforming the space. So this is the object that you'll collect. And we want to make it like a competition, right? So there's going to be nine quests. And if you're able to solve 9 quests, then there'll probably be, I don't know, let's say 90 people will get the chance to go to Iceland and experience this 3 to 4 day immersive event free of charge.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, first of all, I just want to highlight and remind, like, you have an opportunity here not only to mint incredible art by incredible leaders, but by participating, by joining in on these games and interacting with the community in these puzzles. If you make it all the way through, for admittedly a large percentage of the holders, you're going to have this incredible chance to be flown out to a location with these artists, with AOI, to be able to experience one of the most unique, artistically driven, but also clean mining, clean energy, inscribing experiences that this space, I feel, has ever had. And what I'd like to ask you is, when you were explaining to these artists the robust nature of this project, what was their thought? And was there any, other than once you convinced them that this was going to be environmentally friendly, was there any other convincing that needed to be done? Because there are challenges to creating great art on Ordinals.
Yeah, so one of the most beautiful things is that Bitcoin Ordinals really helped me sell it. You know, generative artists looked at what Bitcoin Ordinals was about, recursion, all the libraries are inscribed, the ability to call upon different libraries. This is something that's very, you know, in the past, a lot of these artists would have to use Artblocks engine, would have to use FX hash. Now, all of a sudden, the artists can contribute to future libraries that other artists are able to work on. So, as part of Elements, you know, as much of it as an art drop, it really is about a movement where these 9 artists can help inscribe, you know, libraries of the future, you know, art creating sort of items. And basically, you know, these 9 artists can hopefully, you know, in a year to 5 years' time, the libraries that they help inscribe will further this generative art movement. So I think that is where the true beauty of Bitcoin Ordinals lie. It's not just about the artwork that artists create. It is about this movement, this, I guess, you know, 9 artists, each inspiring 100 artists each. You know, all, you know, everyone's inscribing new libraries. I think it's going to be, you know, even more powerful than what happened on Tezos and on Ethereum, especially with generative art.
And when you were curating this group of 9 artists, what were you looking for? There's many artists, obviously, that we could have picked for this journey. But were there any specific things in mind that you wanted to make sure, as a group, they brought to this project that ensured that you were creating great art?
That's a good question. Originally, when I first jumped into this project, it was mainly about, you know, how can we bring, you know, non-Bitcoin artists to launch their first Genesis pieces. There's something incredibly powerful about artists' first Genesis pieces. It's their attention to detail, it's their focus. In this case, what was interesting was, you know, one of the first artists, you know, I think everyone will know his name, Hato. Hato is going to be one of the artists for Elements. And it was very interesting, you know, in the beginning we set up these group chats where we had, you know, more than 9 artists on board. We brought in developers, we brought in a range of people in the Bitcoin Ordinal space, and we had a lot of calls where it was just bouncing ideas. So artists were asking, hey, I've got this idea, this project, it requires this, is it possible? Then other artists would chime in as well. So the creative process of creating Elements was really, really, really fun and exciting. You know, there is nothing better than getting 9 artists, developers on board to come together to work out what artistic drop they're doing. And that's why, you know, with Elements, right, you know, as much as it is about these 9 incredible artists, I think we need to make the experience of Elements fun. You know, we need to make it something that, you know, people that have never experienced Bitcoin Ordinals before are going to be part of Elements and be like, okay, wow, this is super interesting. the other thing as well is that, I want to add in other components that is not just about art. Like you look at the pre-runes sort of inscriptions. You have Arsic, you have Runestone, you have all these items that are pre-mining some form of token. So not saying that, there's going to be a token that's going to be part of it. However, there's components of that I think would really add to the experience of what elements could be.
And the live community aspect at the end there, the trip itself, the audience that's going to be joining on this experience, why have that end goal? Why have the community come together? Obviously, it's an amazing opportunity, but what does it mean to actually go through that journey and then at the very final experience, have them all together on the same trip? Why was that something that was important to you?
I think with Bitcoin Ordinals, the community is everything. You look at every single project that's launched, from Runestone to Arsic to all these large-scale projects. All of them have almost been airdropped out. I don't think there's any other project where, it costs extreme amounts of money to do an airdrop, and people are airdropping to 100,000 people. So because of that, you have this duality where it's very expensive to inscribe and do things with Bitcoin, yet founders and creators are giving away inscriptions and spreading inscriptions to as many people as possible. So I think instinctively, sort of within the Bitcoin Ordinals community, there is this selfless act of community, sharing, and like what's happening in Ordinals Asia in Hong Kong, this last week, the energy of the people here has been infectious. Everyone is so kind, everyone is so caring about what they're doing, everyone's so passionate about what they're doing. There's not one person that I've spoken to within this building that isn't passionate about this space, and yeah, it's very, very exciting, and this is Bitcoin as well. This is not Solana, Ethereum, or L2s. This is Bitcoin, the original chain, and it's bringing so much excitement back to the space.
Well, and I also wanted to pick your mind on that. It is such a different chain. What has the experience been like on your end to create a mass project on Bitcoin versus your experience on other chains? What challenges have you run into? And also, what has excited you the most about this experience?
Honestly, Bitcoin is a very challenging chain to work with. We recently, not yet launched, but we recently sort of helped the creation of Runes Dex, which is sort of the first Runes AMM. Following that project as well, working with a new protocol, that's just been, the protocol changed slightly 2 days before launch, has a lot of challenges. However, I think there is a core crew of really, really talented developers. And the guys that did the Runestone airdrop, the guys that did the Blob airdrop. Like the Blob airdrop, I spoke to the developer about 3 days ago, and he was like, yeah, like that airdrop, that inscription took them 1 year to make. A lot of people think, it's just audio visual, you can throw it together, but that was 1 year of planning. It was 16 different inscriptions, working together to create it. And what I noticed about that was that when it requires so much skill to, first of all, create the artwork, then you have to work out how to inscribe the artwork. Well, you could inscribe 10, 20 different inscriptions to power one artwork. Then you got to work out, okay, well, I've got to etch this on, the rare side as well. So at any one stage, right, if from the design to the technical infrastructure to the actual etching, that one even had runes etched to it as well. So there's so many elements that go into one inscription that makes it that challenging. So I do think that Journey of Art or Art on Ordinals is going to bring out the best of artists and developers. And I would say every project you see now on Ethereum, it's like literally one artist creating one artwork. Now it's like one artist and a team of developers, creating artwork. So I think when that happens, you're going to start to see art transform from being just an image or a visual, audiovisual, to being something that is completely immersive, that connects to, multiple different people. So I think it's really, really exciting.
So I also want to mention, you've probably walked around and seen a bunch of these things. Like any good convention, we have cards laying everywhere. What can the audience do right now today to be able to connect themselves to the elements, sign up and prepare themselves? And when can they expect, to hear the next steps, I guess?
Yeah, so I think we'll start etching in the next sort of 1 to 2 weeks for elements. What you'll see on the website is you'll see the first version of the artifact. The artifact is going to be a 3D file that will be inscribed. This will form, in the beginning, the object will be just, I would say, inactive. And through the different quests, you'll be able to activate and turn on this object. As the object evolves and grows, it will give you certain benefits and items. But everybody who holds the artifact will be able to participate in all of the artist drops. But if you want to get the full expense paid 2 to 3 day experience in Iceland with the 9 artists, then you have to go through the quests and hopefully win it.
Now, to give the audience a little bit of preparation as to these quests, maybe a little bit of pre-prep alpha, what kind of quests can they expect to wrap their mind around?
Ooh. I think with these quests, we want people to really go deep into the world of Bitcoin Ordinals. We want people to really understand what the artists make and how they make the artwork. So for sure, cryptography, for sure, understanding potential design principles or, understanding how this artist does this particular thing in the artwork through code. So I would say that each 9 quests focus on different genres, different areas. It's designed to be tricky. However, each stage will be a different inscription that does power or depower up the artifact.
And now let's talk as well about Iceland. Why specifically Iceland?
Well, Iceland is the home of probably the #1 renewable energy mining for Bitcoin. It's also probably one of the most incredible places with fire, ice, mountains. I think it's the perfect place to celebrate, renewable energy inscribed artwork.
Well, everyone, I think that is all the time we have for today. But thank you so much, AOI. Everyone, check out that QR code, sign up. You are early on this one, and we are incredibly excited to start this journey and start the games. And we hope to see 10% or some good chunk of you all finally reaching the end goal of Iceland. So thank you so much, AOI.
Thank you very much for coming. Have a lovely day, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Well done, Pete. AOI, exciting. I want to go to Iceland. Who doesn't want to go to Iceland? Amazing. I already signed up. I already threw my address in there. I'll put my hand up. Absolutely. All right. We have one more right before we break for some coffee. And we're going to be talking about Ordinals and the future of IP development. I'm looking for Henry Finn. Is Henry here? There's Henry Finn. Put your hands together for Henry Finn, everybody. Boom. Give a little energy and juice. There we go. Take the mic.
Thank you. So nice. I think I had a slideshow, but if not, it's all good. So my name's Henry. I'm the CEO of OniForce. We're the first anime PFP project in Web3. Excuse me, I've been losing my voice. We minted in August 2021. Now, this year we launched an Ordinals project, so we're actually the first anime PFP project on both ETH and Bitcoin. And we are actually going, this is kind of a sample of what the Ordinal looks like. We're actually going to be giving one away. So, if you take a picture and tag me, which is StarLordyFTW. There's like only 5 of you here, so somebody's gonna win, by the way. And also tag OniForce, then I'm going to pick a winner to get a free Fallen. It's worth $1 bazillion in a couple years, maybe. All right, so I'm here to talk about IP and the future of IP and why we came to Ordinals. So first of all, we are an anime IP project. We are developing comic books, webtoons, manga, and anime for the mass markets in Web 2. Now, the thing about Ordinals that's really important is that it's forever, right? When we discovered how inscribing works, we realized right away that this is a new way for us to establish IP on chain. So imagine like if you're launching the Star Wars universe, right? And you actually got a chance to own the first drawing of Luke Skywalker, right? But not only do you own that picture of Luke Skywalker, you get to decide what that character does. You know what I mean? So imagine if somebody who owned Luke Skywalker's PFP decided, you know what? He's going to the dark side, right? Like, that would fundamentally change the entire universe and the canon and your understanding of the IP, right? Now imagine you have 10,000 people doing the same thing in a gamified way. That actually really changes the way that IP can be developed. So we consider ourselves a community-led IP project, and the whole purpose of going on to Ordinals is creating IP that community gets to decide the direction of, and then on the back end, get rewarded in other ways. It's not a security, but you know, imagine like every time Luke Skywalker appears in a movie, a video game, a toy, a cereal box, you actually get paid for that, right? Like, I was thinking very deeply, because a lot of NFT projects are like, we're the next Disney. We're going to be the next Disney. And I'm like, no, you're not. Disney is actually really hard to replicate. But then I started really thinking about it. I was like, what's better than Disney? What's better than Marvel? What's better than Star Wars? You know what's better? A Disney that pays you, right? So if you think about Disney and Star Wars, etc., they profit off of our love of IP, right? People put their kids in Star Wars diapers, and then these kids consume the IP their entire lives until they're adults, and then they pass it on to their kids. But you know what? Those Web 2 companies don't give a shit about you, right? Like the idea of community, like the real value of community is something that is new that Web 3 has created, right? So I firmly believe that IP of the future has a responsibility to think deeply on how to actually reward their community, AKA their holders, the people that buy their products. So I think if you layer on NFTs and tokenomics, you actually create an opportunity for people to be really rewarded in the journey that they have, because at the end of the day, we are an avatar species, right? Like, our lives are filtered through the story that we tell ourselves in our head. And the IP that we love, whether it's Spider-Man or Batman, I had amazing slides ready, by the way. It was like the coolest slides ever. Just imagine there's like really cool pictures of Spider-Man and Batman going on while I'm doing that. And so these IPs, you form emotional attachments to them, right? Like, Spider-Man, what is the saying that everybody knows with Spider-Man? With great power comes great responsibility, right? We sit here and we talk about the backstories of fictional characters that don't even exist in the real world, and yet we spend our lives debating who would win, Batman or Captain America. You know, like, it's kind of funny because at the end of the day, what I realize is as a species, we use these IPs to define ourselves, right? Like, these characters are a way for us to go through a journey that we can't go through in our every day-to-day life. So it's, I think, first, when it comes to IP, you have to actually make something that has great values and a great storyline for people to follow along. And what happens is people identify with those values, and then they go on the journey with those characters, and it helps define their lives. I mean, you have people like Elon Musk saying that because of the books that he read, it actually shaped the journey that he went on in his life. Like the products, the companies he created are literally the result of him reading sci-fi and fantasy books and be like, you know what? I want to try and save the planet. You know what I mean? But that's all IP. So I think in Web3, like people think about IP in a very two-dimensional way. Like, oh, I'm going to make these cool characters. I'm going to put them on a T-shirt. I hope you spend $100,000 on this JPEG, please, right? And then that's about it. But I actually believe that Web3 presents a brand new opportunity for people to change lives through the characters that are created on chain. Because when you layer in things like AI, for instance, right? When you're playing a video game in the future, it will know if you are depressed, or if you're anxious, or if you're struggling. And it could actually accommodate for you where maybe the villain that you're fighting represents anxiety. And then the journey you go on to defeat this villain, you can actually get the skills to deal with anxiety in real life, right? Because right now, the way IP works, it's very passive. You just kind of like consume this story, you take the lessons you want out of it, and then you kind of apply it in your own way. But I really believe with the technologies of the future that Web3 and beyond offers, we actually have a way to help make people's lives better. And so that's what Oniforce is actually all about. The IP that we create, that we're developing for Web 2, is meant to be for you, to help you develop your life experience, right? So even with our Ordinals collection that we launched, not only are these characters characters that will appear in our comic books and anime and manga and all that stuff, they're actually an entry point for you to go on a journey where you can learn more about yourself, right? So when you buy this Ordinal and then you sign up to our platform, it's going to get to know you, right? And you get to make these decisions through the character, but as it gets to know you better, it keeps presenting new journeys that actually reflect what you want to go through in life, what you're dealing with, and help you actually transform your own life. So I think that's actually the future of IP development. I think that Web3 is going to lead the way in that area. And again, when you layer on other benefits like tokens and blah, 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 all that sort of stuff, it's like now you can potentially use technology to make people's lives better, give them a better experience where they have a more personalized identity, right? And then you could also reward them in things like utility and community and, yes, money, financial gains. So I think this is going to be the model for the future. I'm really excited about what Ordinals presents in terms of the opportunity to develop this on-chain. And I hope you guys took photos and tweeted, tagged me. There's no screen behind me, so I don't know why I look back there. But it's StarLordy, FTW is my handle. If you tag me, I'm going to choose somebody to give a free Ordinal to. And I really hope that you guys get a chance to go on this journey with us. And yeah, thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. Happy to talk to anyone after. I don't know how much time I have, but he's like, I don't know either. I'm good. Yeah, that was over 10 minutes. Thank you, everyone.
Henry Finn, wow. That's how no slides, didn't shake him at all. Talking into the microphone, taking command of the stage. Guys, you've been a great audience. We're going to take a quick coffee break, and then we have a few more panels on the other side of that. Thank you very much. See you on the other side. And we're back. We are back. Hey guys, how did you enjoy your coffee break? Put some clapping into the air. How about some energy, guys? Everybody put your hands together. Yeah, all right. Hey, for our friends in the back, hey guys, please do network. Do me a favor, guys. If you guys are gonna network back here, please continue to do it. Talk to people you don't know, but there's a networking room upstairs. So if you're gonna watch, be here. If you're gonna chat your asses off in the other room. All right, thanks guys. Awesome. Let's just give the respect and the space to this kick-ass panel. Who doesn't love airdrops? Nobody. Everybody loves fucking airdrops. Come on. Juiciest thing ever. We're the undisputed king of onboarding and value creation. And let's bring up our 4 panelists in turn, shall we? Henry the Grape, coming to stage. Council of Kongs, CyberKongs, boom. Co-founder of Cyberpunk Lab, award contributor, Elock, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we got some juice for him too. Co-founder of BTC Machines, Mr. Lucky 777, Kaboom Town, yes. And wow, this guy, oh my God, he is a legend here in Hong Kong for a long time. Founder of 9gag and also Meme Land, Ray Chan, everybody. Boom, right? And our amazing moderator for today, good to see the lady boss, some girl power on stage here, guys. Core contributor to Bitcoin Square. Warm welcome for Vivian Wong, everybody. Thank you. Yes.
Hey, guys. Thank you. What a warm welcome. Thank you for coming here, and thank you for all of our panelists for making it. Good afternoon, everyone. And of course, we know that we're all here because these airdrop kings are here. But I think I want to get like a show of hands from the audience first. Who here has gotten an airdrop from one of these guys on stage? Come on. Yes. Amazing. All right. So I think these guys need no introduction, but I'm gonna let everyone do a very short intro of who you are and what your project is. Henry?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Henry the Grape. I'm part of the Council of Kongs on CyberKongs. We just did a Promethean airdrop, and we etched the #2 rune decentralized. So we're an OG ETH project, but we're fucking stoked to be on Bitcoin. So yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Hey, I'm Elock, co-founder of Cyberpunk Lab and Blob. Yeah, we just did an airdrop of blobs during NYC, and we were also the team that inscribed on the Epic Satoshi.
Hi, I'm Mr. Lucky, co-founder of BTC Machine. We've airdropped around 300,000 ordinals to OG communities. And yeah, we're building a MMORPG, the first MMORPG on Bitcoin. And all these ordinals will be assets in the game. Thanks for being here.
Hi, I'm Ray.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Also, just a little preview. We have a little surprise coming up from BTC Machines a bit later on. But yeah, so just stay tuned and stay here, and we're going to announce it a little bit later. I think everyone's going to be pleased. All right, so kicking off, I think all of you guys, I think everyone knows what they've airdropped. But for airdrops, distribution is very important. It's a very important part of growing the community. And so I want to hear from each and every one of you, why did you choose those particular groups of audience and community to airdrop to, and how do you think that has contributed to the success of your community?
Yeah, so things might be a little different for CyberKongs because we're an Ethereum-based project. That's where we started. So I think we've had our eye on Ordinals. I was degenning into Ordinals starting in February of 23, so I really loved what I was seeing there. And I think we knew if we were coming to the party, we kind of needed to bring some shit with us because the Ordinals community, it's really tight. I think they can sniff out what they consider to be cash grabs. So it was important that we came and that we were able to come and give and really show respect to the people who came before us, you know. So what we did is we had a committee we put together, Bitcoin native people on our team, and we're like, okay, let's find projects that that we think deserved maybe isn't the right word. We wanted, you know, OG projects. We wanted innovators. We wanted artists. We wanted projects that were culturally relevant, and we're like, let's give them to their diamond-handed holders. So we had a script. It was the diamond-handed weight script, and we used that, and we rewarded those people based on holding times. So it was like if you, let's say, minted a puppet or you had a quantum cat, you were going to get the Promethean drop. We did 21,000 Prometheans, 18,000 which were airdropped to native Bitcoin communities. Only 3,000 of them went to actual Kongs holders. So we just want to make sure that we came with something that we hoped had value to people and really give back to an ecosystem that we were watching and had a lot of respect for.
Great. Ela?
Yeah, so like we try to get a wide net of people from like all of our Ordinals as well as like other chains like ETH, and like shout out to our community managers, English and HO. You know, they really were able to like get a lot of communities, and a lot of these people that are in our community is like their first Ordinal because they'd been in ETH, things like that. So yeah, and then we also targeted like the OGs, the people we've been in the space, you know, for the last year and a half, you know, building with the Cypherpunk Labs. So like, you know, we made sure like our people that we've been building with were included as well. So like, we just wanted to make like a big, broad like set of users to bring in, and yeah, and like shout out to CyberKongs because they airdrop some of our holders as well.
Yeah, a little bit of both methods. We did a few airdrops, so we used different methods. Like for example, the Game Stones, we airdropped to all the Runestone holders. A lot of the airdrops are from our own holders, so people that held the machines, then got the operator, got BTC virus. But we also include other communities and just like Elok said, builders and people we want to see in the future, and we want to encourage like top communities. But we can't get everyone, so you know that's why we keep doing airdrops.
We didn't do any airdrop. Yeah, I mean, we airdrop other people's token. Yeah, we didn't do any airdrop. Yeah, but I think people love free shit, right? Free food, free drinks, free NFT, free Ordinals, right? And I think this is a good way to onboard people, because I think the biggest friction, right, of anything Web3 is, hey, you actually have to pay, right? And on Bitcoin, on ETH, on other chain, you actually have to pay pretty high gas fee as well, right? So somehow doing an airdrop is the easiest way to get people into your community. Yeah.
Yeah, so airdrops has been, I mean, a long time tradition of the crypto world for onboarding users, building communities. So as builders yourself, how have you observed the evolution of like airdrops in the past and as compared to now? And how do you think the mindset of users have changed regarding airdrops and being onboarded into communities by airdrops?
I mean, to Ray's point, people want free shit. So I don't know that the mindset on the receivers have changed all that much. Airdrops can work. I don't really know that there's much to change in the game. You can have different mechanics to who you're going to airdrop to, but I think whether it was on Ethereum or any other chain, I think at the end of the day, airdrops have kind of remained, they're relevant, right? I mean, who wasn't excited to get a blob or a runestone? It just appears in your wallet, or a Promethean. It's kind of fun. You're like, I don't even know what I did to get this, but I got it. And then you got the opportunity to decide if you want to keep it or if you're going to sell it. And if it's got value, people are happy.
Yeah, I think the big thing I noticed, I was thinking about the other day, is like you see a lot of people getting scammed on ETH because like they have drainers. So like people have to go and get the airdrop on other chains, but like, you know, here on Bitcoin, what we're doing is we're like burdening all the cost, and the user doesn't even have to do like an on-chain transaction. So like they're safer by not like being open to like people scamming them, and also like they're not just getting airdropped things that are just worthless because the team like put up money to like put it into your wallet instead of like put that on to the user where they have to pay gas on a smart contract or things like that. So like it's a really interesting paradigm that like we're kind of doing here on Bitcoin like compared to other chains.
Yeah, well, one trend I saw is, and I'm seeing more and more, is the winners, they keep winning. So you have like 80% of the airdrops that are on 20% of the OG collections or collections and communities that these new projects want to attract and include in their project. So basically, if you choose the right ordinals, you'll get the majority of the airdrops, and from what I'm seeing.
I mean, yeah, what they say. Yeah.
All right. And so for the next part, well, we've talked about like the differences and also how you've airdropped to your communities. I think what comes next is really what happens after the airdrop, building the community following the airdrop, and how to really cultivate a strong sense of consensus, mindshare, and really how to have a diamond hand community, essentially. How about we start with Ray this time around?
Okay. Honestly, right, I think it's kind of meaningless to talk about the mechanism, right? Because airdrop, I mean, you can airdrop shit that people don't care. Right? I think why people care about these guys' airdrop is because they are legit team, building legit stuff. They are creating new value that people treasure, right? I think that part is the important part. Otherwise, I mean, I got like free airdrop from some scam token all the time, right? And you don't even want to touch them. Right? Even on the ETH NFT side, they airdrop like all kind of like shitty NFT. When you click it, actually it drains your wallet. Right? So I think the airdrop itself is not the main point. Who do you airdrop to is the main point. And how do you actually leverage that community to build? I think that's also important. Right? I think a few months ago, they are started to have more projects, token projects. They airdrop to NFT communities, right? But the thing is, most of the time, I get the free shit, but I don't even know what you are doing, right? And then that's why I just sell it. And sometimes I hold it, not because I want to hold it, it's because I don't even know I get it. I don't even know, this sounds like STD, but I don't know how I get it, right? But also, I just hold on to it because I don't even know how to sell it. Most of the time, it's on a new chain, it's not listed on a centralized exchange, right? So I would say that the key part is how can we educate the people that what we are doing, right? For example, we are on one of our products called Stickland, right? We work with the OutSig team, the Ruin Coin team. I mean, they did the first P-Ruin, and then they are the first, I would say, a Ruins protocol token to get listed on a top exchange. The thing is, most people, they don't know what they were before that, right? Because at the end of the day, I think there are so many new information, alpha and whatever bullshit, right? So I think that's the part where after the airdrop, that's where the job really started. Because airdropping, other than causing some money, right, is actually the easy part, right? But how do you convince people, okay, it's meaningful to hold on to it and look for the futures that we are co-building together? That part is the key.
Yeah, I think it's a very important point, and also the awareness campaign and what comes before the airdrop, especially for large airdrop like 100,000 holders. It's difficult, but if you do it well, the payoff is good, and then you can leverage that community and you can build together something important.
Yeah, I think a big plus on like airdrops is like you don't really have the situation where a minter that like minted a collection can be like underneath and maybe at a loss like quickly after mint because secondary floor price. So like, they already start off where they're basically up the entire time because they got it for free. So like you don't have a community that's kind of like mad because they might be down. And yeah, I think that's like helpful to like grow the community. And like for us specifically, like we just do epic shit, like inscribe on the epic sat and
That's epic.
Yeah, I think for years, I think the Kong's playbook was like, let's tell everybody everything we're doing. And I think we've learned like over 3.5 years. Maybe sometimes keeping your mouth shut might work to your advantage. So I think, how do you keep people engaged? How do you have diamond-handed holders after you've done an airdrop? I mean, don't take it the wrong way, because, I mean, we care, but at the same time, like, do what you want with it. I'm not going to overpromise something and under-deliver on it. Hold it if you want to hold it. Sell it if you want to sell it. Come in our Discord and complain about it if you want to complain about something free, too. That's okay. We all know people that do that. We just try to, like, not pay attention to the noise, quietly build, and when we have something to say, we're going to say it. And I think that's something that we just learned over some time in the space, that we don't have to tell you everything. We might want to get a little cheeky with our marketing at times and maybe allude to things, but I think this new version of Kongs is wanting to be a little bit more secretive with what we're doing, and when we're ready to say something and we're ready to put it out, that's what we're going to do. So if you're listening in Discord, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a little bit quieter than normal, and when we're ready to make a bang, we'll make a bang.
Sounds good. I'm going to add on a question here, because I think I heard a really important point come up, which is kind of the awareness campaign happening before the airdrop, and what kind of information you continue to give to the community after the airdrop. So I want to hear from like all the founders here. You know, is there any strategy, or what are your thoughts when you were planning your airdrop? What kind of information do you give to the community? And after you've done airdrop, like what Ray said, how are you continuing to prove to the community that you are a strong team, you're continuing to building, and you're giving confidence to the community?
Yeah, I'll start with that one. It goes with what you just said. You don't want to give too much information and confuse. So sometimes, you know, just keeping it to the essential, and you know, you just give value and you show that the results are coming. But you cannot explain everything in advance, especially if you're, you know, a small team, you're figuring it out. The tools are not all there. You know, the vision is 95% complete, but this last 5%, you know, there's always leeway there. So it's also good for flexibility. And the space changes so quickly. I think everybody should be open-minded to that and welcome like free stuff that is not clear. And then you can go ahead and take your choice if you want to get even more or just sell it and opt out.
Yeah, so we like basically kind of trolled our community. We told them that we were going to do a mint, and then we said mint day was April 1st. And the plan was to just do the airdrop on the 1st, but you know, there's a lot of things that we had to get ready, and we were like grinding in New York, so it came out like 2 days later. But then, yeah, then we just started airdropping, and everyone's like, "Oh, what the hell?" And like they were waiting, you know, with some Bitcoin to pay fees, but you know, it just ended up in their wallet. So yeah, like I don't know, you can mix it up and kind of throw a curveball for people, because like somebody did a Chapo meme, and they're like, they're not even here, they haven't been responding, because like we were just ready to just drop it on their wallets instead of, you know, have a mint.
I would say that people want things they can't get, right? If you play mysterious, they ask you, hey, how can you be more transparent, right? If you're 100% transparent, they say, okay, this is like all the old shit that I know already, right? What's the alpha, right? So I think that's, it's almost always like a constant struggle, right? And I think it also plays to your team's strength, right? For example, if your team is like very good at storytelling, maybe playing the mysterious part is good. If your team is trying to build something that needs more confidence, then being transparent is good, right? So I would say that there's no one thing fits all. At the end of the day, I think it also depends on the market sentiment as well, right? For example, like on the ETH side, a lot of people are complaining, okay, the team is not transparent, right? Maybe then you become more transparent. You can become the niche, right? The selling point, right? So it's almost like always flexible, right? But echoing to what you say, it's almost like most of the teams like 5% ready, 95% is not ready, right? It's not the other way around, right? I think that's the part where a lot of the times there are delays, and then you are not keeping your promise, right? But I think the whole goal is you show up, right? You don't have to tell them everything that you do, but you show up on Discord, shoot the shit, talk to people, right? Hey, what are the latest TV show that you're watching, right? Oh, have you watched like Kaiju number 8, right? Something like that, right? That makes people know that you care. I think that's kind of like parenting in a way. Of course, the best case is you play with them all the time, but the second best case is you show up, you go back home. And I think that's also what builds the confidence as well.
Yeah, it sounds like the key point here is really to be realistic and definitely don't overpromise. Always deliver on the things that you've promised to the community.
It sounds easier, right, than what it is, right? Because if you're so under-promising, people even don't even give a fuck about what you're doing, right? So it's almost like a constant struggle. It's building relationship. It's kind of like you try to get laid, right? That's why you want to promise something so that you can get laid. But honestly, you know what you are good at, right? Maybe you're not that good on the bat. Then you have to promise other stuff. But at the same time, through the communication, you actually build up, I would say, more confidence. Right? So that, okay, maybe it's not just the performance, right? Maybe it's because I'm very caring. Oh, maybe because we help you to get connected with other founders. Maybe all the friends that you made is actually the real treasure that you see in Web3. I think a lot of the things is it's more about showing up. Yeah, I would say showing up is like 69% of the game. Yeah.
All right. All right, so for the next question...
You skipped me.
Oh.
No, I didn't have anything to add. No, I think they covered
it started with you, because you actually brought up the really good point. I got inspired by
Perfect. I was just messing with you anyway.
All right, so the next part, we're going to talk about kind of the cultural differences in East and West. And this question was kind of inspired by Elok. I had a talk with him yesterday. We were talking about adoption of Blob in the Chinese communities versus the West. And I think we have observed that like these communities, they tend to react to different user onboarding strategies, and they like different kinds of culture and collections. So what's your take on that?
Ooh, this is a good one to start with, Ray.
All right, Ray.
East or West, they all love money, right? I mean, they all love art, right? They're not money, right? Yeah, so I think that part is key, right? One thing is whatever your audience is, right? Know your customers, know your audience, right? Know your owners, right? Customers is a word that people in Web3 hate, but I would say that know your community, right? If they like arts, right? Give them arts, right? If they like money, give them money, right? If they like airdrop, give them more airdrop, right? I think there's no single playbook. Right? And also, on the other hand, it's more about what your team is really, really good at. Right? Try to find the unfair advantage that you can play at. For example, like CyberCongs, like OG in the ETH NFT, right? I think they know a lot of OG builders and stuff like that, right? So when they launch the Ordinals collection, they actually get a lot of support, right, from the existing holders. But if you are launching a new collection on Ordinals, you don't have any background, right? Maybe you airdrop to the existing Ordinals community. So I think there are like different tactics on that, yeah.
Yeah, so next up, I think you're ready to announce a little surprise.
Yeah, so basically, what better thing to do on a airdrop discussion than to airdrop while we're doing this discussion. So if you registered for this event and there was a place to enter your wallet, you got a Dragon machine, one of 777 that we did for this. And if you didn't, I will like take out your phone and go on X. I will post right now, and you can interact with this Twitter and come and see me. I'll make sure that you have your Dragon machine. We have a few extra ones.
Let's go.
Let's fucking go.
Let's go. Everyone, check your wallets. If not, go interact with the.
Yeah, the Twitter handle, X handle is BTC Ordinal. All together, BTCORDINAL. I'll pin it.
Cool. Amazing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Check your wallets, everyone. All right, and also, I mean, your thoughts on this question? Anything you want to share as well on top of the airdrop?
What was the question?
Cultural difference.
Oh, yeah, I think humans are humans, market participant are market participant, traders are traders, collectors are collectors. No matter what, there might be little differences like between people as well, but it's basically the same thing. Like if you give value and if your vision is well aligned with where this space is going and humanity as a whole, like what we're creating right now is bigger than just crypto and just collecting, in my opinion. I think it goes naturally and people just feel it and they follow you and they want to build with you.
Yeah, I think that like you know, there's cultural differences, but you know, like at the end of the day, we're all humans, so like we all share like the same, you know, like emotions and like, you know, we all feel sad and love. So like those like cross boundaries, and yeah, so like it's really interesting coming out here to Asia. I haven't been here before, so like I'm get to see like how, you know, the Asian Ordinal community, because I've heard a lot about them, and I feel like there's been a divide. So like, you know, what we're trying to do with Epic and Blob is, you know, to bridge Asia and the West together, because like, you know, we come from the West, and you know, we want to bring Asia, and because there seems like it's a little divided, like we're kind of in our silos, but we're all here for Bitcoin, you know, we're all here for Ordinals. So yeah, like we're human at the end of the day.
Yeah, and so yes, there's cultural differences between the East and the West. I think there's a bigger cultural difference between Bitcoin and mainnet Ethereum, and even the L2s. And to me, that's like the thing that I like to focus on, because I think so many of us that are building on Bitcoin, and of course, like we're new to building on Bitcoin. I'm not going to pretend like we've been around. We've been watching, but I think what we found was that that vibe that mainnet Ethereum had back in early 2021, that really got hijacked by, you know, the influencers and just that shitty feeling that existed on mainnet, where it just felt kind of gross. It was like you almost felt like you didn't have a shot at it if you weren't in the influential sphere, the people who were sort of the shot callers on mainnet. And I think what people have seen with Ordinals is this real organic growth that rejects that idea. I've said before, you know, speaking like, you know, people on mainnet, you may see somebody from another project, and you're like, of course, like we're tight with Meme Land. The affinity and the synergy that we have for each other, you don't find that between all of the projects. Oftentimes, even though we're like, you know, an OG project, we felt like we were always faded, left out. We weren't in the cool club. But in Ordinals, even though we weren't native to Bitcoin, long before we ever like actually put our toes in the water, we were collabing. We had projects that were like, hey, yeah, let's collab with the Kongs. Let your community take part in our mint. Let's airdrop to them. So I think the cultural difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum is way bigger than the difference between the East and the West. And I think that's what's going to make Ordinals successful, or continue to be successful, is if we can keep that vibe going and sort of reject the garbage that we were seeing for the last, you know, 2 years on mainnet, not including Meme Land. You guys are completely different.
No, we have no utility. We are the total trash. Yeah. No, I mean, one thing to add to Henry's, right? I think if we talk about West and East, I would say that the East understand the West better. I can speak fucking English. Can you speak Chinese? No, right? I mean, right? I mean, all the Asians here, right? They probably can speak English, right? But the West, they actually don't understand Chinese, right? That's why you come to Asia, respect, right? But I feel like all this like new wave, especially on the crypto, a lot of the actions are in Asia, because in the West, the financial ecosystem is more well developed, right? In the East, it's like new developing countries and stuff like that. A lot of people, they actually don't have a bank account, right? And I think they can skip that, right? Because of crypto. I think because of that, the East influence, the Eastern influence is actually quite big, right? And all the Eastern guys, they watch fucking Hollywood movies, right? So they also understand part of the culture as well, right? And right now, Americans, right, or Europeans, they started to watch like anime. Right? I started to watch anime when I was like 3 years old, right? So I think stuff like this, you can see that there's like a mix and match between the culture. But I would say that if I'm totally biased, right? I'm a Chinese, right? But I think that the Eastern community actually understand the Western culture better than the other way around. Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree on that, but I also want to kind of add on that a lot of people are of the opinion that we do understand the West better, which is also why that we tend to be the followers and listeners and all the people kind of leading the narrative. Like, it's very simple. Like, I think for Asian communities, we like to see what the Western KOLs, what the Western founders are bullish on, what they are calling, and then we would buy all of that up. Have you guys observed this, or any thoughts on this?
I disagree, right? CC is a fucking Canadian, right? And Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. I think this is one thing that I like in Web3 is actually they don't care about your race behind your PFP. Right? If your point makes sense, if you're building something meaningful, people actually support it. A lot of the project founders I know, they're actually Asian or whatever race that they are, right? But at the same time, the key part is whether they are building something meaningful, right? And I would say that the tech itself may be invented, right, in the West, right? But how to make the mass adoption, right? I mean, look at the countries that has the bigger crypto adoption. It's all in Asia, right? So I would say that it doesn't matter where you started, right? It actually matters what you're doing right now. Yeah.
All right, so for the last part, to wrap it up, I'm going to throw a little surprise question at everyone. So what's coming up next in terms of airdrops? Because I know that we are expecting some airdrops from some of you. So any updates on that?
Well, we tweeted something out maybe a couple days ago. It was a little bit surprisingly more cryptic than I thought it would be. Yeah, we got some stuff coming for, let's say, Prometheans and decentralized. I mean, we have some stuff coming. So I'm just going to say, pay attention. We said, like, give the people what they want. So we want to give the people what they want. It may not be all of the people. It's kind of hard to make it all of the people. But pay attention to what's going on in Kongs. If you have a Promethean, if you're interested in the decentralized ecosystem, we'll be delivering. So yeah, you should see some stuff. What is today, the 11th? Soonish. Soonish. When? Yeah, when. I would like to say maybe like sometime within the next 3 to 4 weeks, you should start seeing something.
Okay.
Don't hold me to it. Don't come in Discord. If you're going to, you can shit talk me. That's okay. I'm used to that. But yeah, keep an eye in Discord. And honestly, if you're in Prometheans, if you're in Kongs, Discord's where we put out our information. We had a lot of people that were like, how come this wasn't on X, Y, or Z? And I'm like, come in Discord. That's where we disseminate 99% of our info.
Yeah, I would say that like when we inscribed the epic, there were runes on that, and our community, was the one that like helped us get the sat so we could inscribe the art on it. So I'd say, our community is like gonna do some epic shit.
I like that. Well, we just did one.
We're already asking you when's the next one, bro. Come on, it's only been 12 minutes.
When?
You guys want another one, or?
Nothing. Nothing's coming at Memeland. We are not doing anything. Yeah. I'm just chilling. I'm moving to Bahamas next week. Yeah, so don't expect anything. Yeah, we are a rug pool project. Yeah. No airdrop. The only airdrop that you get is actually when I go to toilet. Yeah.
All right. A round of applause for our amazing panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done. Nicely done, Vivian. Excellent. All right. Drop the mic. All good. Guys, it's been a year now, a full year of Ordinals magic. And we're going to do a year in review. Is the co-founder of Genie Data, Coco, are you here, ready to rock? Is Coco in the house? Anybody's at Coco? Round of applause for Coco, everybody. Welcome Coco to the stage. Woo! Come on. And we are going to introduce, in turn, the core contributor of Atomicals, Brutoshi. Coming to the stage, Brutoshi. Ecosystem growth from Mezzo, Harsham, a.k.a. Yogi. Coming up to the stage, Ord influencer, Geom, and marketing director of Botanics, Zach. Put your hands together for our awesome panel, guys. Give them a little Hong Kong love, little Ordinals love. Thank you.
Time flies, huh, guys? It has been more than a year, and Genie Data has been, about Ordinal since like really day one. And the reason why we're having this panel is really because those people has been in the space for so long, so old, and that's why we're doing reviews instead of like talking about the future. But obviously, like we're gonna talk about the future as well. Let's first give a round of applause to those amazing OGs. they're really doing so great. So I'm going to give a very short period of time for them to do a self-introduction. Please.
Bertoshi. First of all, I'm a Bitcoiner. Been in the space for a while. To tell you how early in Bitcoin Ordinal space, actually, we organized the first Ordinal meetup almost a year and 1 month ago. And this is called OCCON. I think there are some attendees here. That's how I met Yang and also Dr. Jingo. We actually share some of the offer. I think Jack Liu in our space talking about this very interesting piece, the tiny dot BRC20 compared to the ERC20 is kind of famous, and the rest is history. So actually, I'm a serial entrepreneur and building different projects. Today, you probably saw the car, but I'm also the co-founder of Viz Wallet. It's another meta protocol called Atomico. I'm happy to talk more about this, but today we are kind of doing this 1 year review of the Atomico. We've been through so much, and I kind of want to share some of our learning as well as some alpha for now. Yeah, I'm based in Hong Kong. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looking forward to that alpha. I mean, guys, if you're into Atomicals, then you guys all know about Wiz Wallet, right? Yeah, so this is the builder here. He's doing an amazing job. Yes, the next one we have Yogi. Hey.
Hey guys, yeah, been in crypto for 8 years. Got into it via ETH, Bitcoin back in 2015. Then DeFi summer in 2020, NFTs afterwards. And I think the most exciting has been Ordinals over the past year. Got in pretty early. Have been watching this space pretty aggressively. Now working with Mezzo, which is building the economic layer on Bitcoin. So I do ecosystem and growth. But Degen a lot on the side, big into NFTs, Azuki, Pudgies, and then Quantum Cats, of course. I'll shout out to Udi. It's been fun to watch this space grow. Yeah, I think exciting times ahead.
Great. Next, we have Jeroen.
Hi, so my name is Jeroen. Wait. You're not the real Jeroen? I'm the real Jeroen.
Wait, what is happening? Whoa! Okay, so I'm confused. Who's the real one?
I'm the real one. So I just want to say, so my name is Jeroen. I'm a content creator on Ordinals. I educate people. I make sure that everybody is updated to the news in Ordinals. Sometimes there's so much information in the space, and it's really hard to know what matters, what's relevant, what's not. And I'm here to kind of bring some order in all this chaos and just help people with it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Been following your tweets. Yeah. I thought you were gonna have something to share with people.
Yeah, well, I do have a little surprise.
Guys,
so
alpha here.
That's a big alpha. I've not announced it anywhere, but I've been in the space since early February. You know, extremely early. Sub 30K was making content and already educating people, and I've never I've helped people continuously, and now I'm ready for the next step. I think art on Bitcoin is and will be extremely big. And even though I love paintings, it's one of 10 art forms, you know? So I want to bring books on Bitcoin. I'm here for that. I'm currently creating the first decentralized publishing house. So very, very soon, you will see much more of it, and we will all be able to read and write and just have books on Bitcoin, and that's it. So thank you very much.
Congratulations and well done on that. Yeah, looking forward. Okay, last we have Zach.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
I'm Zach. I've been in Bitcoin since 2014, mining for a while. I did some privacy work. Currently, I'm the director of marketing at Botanics Labs. We're building a layer 2 on Bitcoin. I'm excited to be on this panel with you guys talking about something different besides layer 2s. I'm also Taproot Wizard number 7. Shout out to Udi and the Quantum Cats Taproot Wizards team. But in general, it's been really exciting over the past 18 months to see Bitcoin take have a second wind, I guess. Bitcoin was very boring, very stagnant for a long time. And runes, BRC20s, stamps, inscriptions, all of it brought Bitcoin back to life, brought Bitcoin back into sort of the center of the narrative of the industry. That's why we're all here. That's why we've been here all week. Excited to talk more about it on the panel today.
Nice. Yeah, and yeah, thank you. Oh, I mean, thank you all for your contribution in the space for the past year, and thanks for a quick review. Yeah, and for me, I'm gonna do a self-introduction. So I'm Coco, a co-founder of Genie Data. Just wonder who's using Genie Data, please let me know. Yeah, I mean, our platform has been the DJ's go-to platform. So if you're seeking for alphas, you can either go for drones for tweets and obviously follow everyone, or you can use data. We track a lot of on-chain activities, and it's more. It's easy for you guys to see by our visualizations. Also, we launched our NFT called Feeling Good. Yeah, and for people who are holding those NFTs, we're gonna give really premium access to advanced features. So yeah, right. So let's go through this question. So from last year we have Ordinals, and now we have runes, right? I'm sure you guys have done a lot of successful purchases and investment, and some regretful ones. So if you guys are willing to share some of the thoughts on this, you wanna go for? What do you?
Yeah, 100%,
you were making eye contact, so I thought, yeah, the stories are coming out.
I mean, yeah, I have a lot to say about runes, first of all, I do remember the whole craze with pre-runes, how rune stones, decentralized, and all of them really killed it. And now, we are all of a sudden, everybody, I remember a month ago, we really thought that for the next 2 months, the fees would be at 250 VBuy all the time, and we had that for the first day, and now there's some days it's a lot less. So I just think Ordinals, the NFTs on Bitcoin, they're it's pretty big. BRC20s is billions of market cap.
Yeah.
But runes, not even 1 billion. If we exclude the first ZZZ Fihu, that's 1% public, so the market cap is too high. We're really early for runes. I genuinely think that there's a lot of potential in runes, because on Ethereum, it's crazy because tokens are worth 100 times more than NFTs, and currently on Bitcoin, barely BRC20s and runes are barely worth more than the non-fungible tokens. So it's obvious that we're gonna see a much bigger disparity, a much bigger we haven't even gone through a bull cycle of runes, and some people are already giving up, So I'm really bullish.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys have definitely found a lot of alphas throughout the year, right? So I think one thing we want to hear is how you guys have found those alphas. How, was it a gut feeling, or was it data, or rumors? How did you track this, and what exactly the thing that's got interested in you guys?
I think it's not necessarily alpha, but I guess everyone should have a unique approach to all these different assets on Bitcoin. So don't approach Ordinals the same way you approach runes, the same way you approach BRC20s. A lot of the inscriptions Ordinals teams, I think, are building really cool stuff. I hope we see a lot better art, a lot better tooling for some of these projects. Runes is a completely different ballgame. So I definitely agree. I think we're very early to runes, but it's a casino. So I definitely would not my opinion, my personal approach is not to come into it as something I'm going to hold for a long time. I think it's fun, it's exciting, and it's cool to see people build fun, crazy stuff on Bitcoin. But who knows if it's going to be here by the next halving? I don't think anybody does. I think there's maybe a decent chance it's not here by the next halving. So be cautious, I guess, but try and have fun and stay cautious. Yeah, there's a balance there.
Very practical advice. Yes, Yogi.
Yeah, I was gonna say patience. It's all a casino at the end of the day for now. We're having fun. It's experimentation. If you were in Ordinals a year ago, it was spreadsheets. It was Excel spreadsheets. We were literally giving people money and hoping they would send us their Ordinal when they inscribed it. You had Sparrow. It was a very different ballgame, and that took a couple months before we had, exchanges launch. Magic Eden, Unisat. BRC20s was some random thing. I still remember the DM. Heavily regret not minting, because I was why would you ever want to buy a token on Bitcoin? My buddy minted a large supply, and he keeps as a receipt, because now he's retired in Dubai, and I'm here talking to you guys. So no, but I think the big thing is that we have experimentation on Bitcoin, and that's the exciting part. People thought ordinals were dead last year. I remember May of last year, I was at a Bitcoin Miami, and I met a guy, and he's like, "Oh, you should have sold the top. BRCs are over." And we're here a year later, and there's multi-billion-dollar tokens. Who knows where the market's going to head? We have Runes, which launched 2 weeks ago. I know it seems like they've, air quotes, Runes are dead now, and it's like, guys, it's been 2 weeks. No one knows the market yet. The fees are high, and not everyone can spend $300 a transaction. I think the big thing that you can do is see what the space is doing now. And I think if you take a step back, ETH is I forget the token prices, but say like a few $100 billion token, and it has 80-90% of that market cap is seen in NFTs and DeFi. Bitcoin's $1 trillion asset, and I think the biggest thing that Runes and Ordinals are showing is that there's a lot more to Bitcoin, and so watch that ecosystem grow, and the best you can do is study. Don't trust the timeline too aggressively. That's kind of my thought process. Like, see what people say, have fun, learn, but don't bet your house on stuff.
Yeah. You're so big on atomicals. That was alpha. That's probably still is alpha, right?
It is alpha.
Yeah, tell
yes.
us more about it.
So I want to circle back to the alpha part. My experience as a builder, because I'm more have a technical background, and I also aping pretty early. As you can see, I'm like minting the apes. Actually, I'm also minting the crypto kitty. If you are in the NFT community, so that's why. When the Ordinal just came out, and wow, finally you can inscribe the image on Bitcoin, really got into me. That is, I think, the first week of February, early as that. So I have two points. One is be like experiment, right? Something happens, some new way of doing things on chain. They always be pay attention. That's the new alpha. Of course, there's so many new things out, and with also the marketing. So you have to be like really like deep in the space to know what it is the paradigm change, the experiment. The second is actually very interesting point regarding the entry, the cost of your entry point. Buy low, sell high. Because for me, I after so many years of trading, the best way for me is basically to get the assets when it just launched. That worked really well for me. I try, follows, and I get to the list. It doesn't really work well. So go back to the atomical. When the protocol just released last September, it's something really different. It's kind of like a BRC20 Fairmont, but you have this POW. You use your CPU to mint, and also you look at the white paper. It's really interesting. So me and then my co-founder, we started running the command line, and then start minting. We got those tokens called Atom, and yeah, it go on that's like a rocket ship. So that is kind of our approach. Be open to the new experiment, and also be really careful about your entry barrier, even for the rooms. So we actually minting some of the early rooms, and we will watch the mempool in terms of price. We kind of calculate, okay, compared to the second market, what is it, and then we sell some and then keep some. And but other part I want to learn from the expert, in terms of the community, in terms of the meta. That is something we are not really good at. So I'm trying to learn from you guys as well.
I couldn't have said it any better. I just want to echo pretty much exactly what you said. In terms of trying new things and experimenting, that is the key to success here, but there's a little bit of nuance. Everyone wants to be early to things, but there's no way you can be early if you don't try new things. That's why experimenting is so key. But you won't be right the first time, or maybe even the second time. So the key is to keep being early and keep trying new things, and you can't do that if you blow up and lose everything by being wrong once. So you have to experiment carefully and be early and try new things, but with caution. That balance is key, and that's kind of what this whole Bitcoin Renaissance, Bitcoin Season 2, the past 18 months of everything happening on Bitcoin is all about trying new things. And some of it, a lot of it will go to zero, but some of it will, last forever. So.
But if I bounce off what you just said, it's really interesting because sorry. But basically because I started back in February, a lot of people are like, oh, you should have made Gen Wealth, but you were so early to everything, But the truth is, I wasn't degening, trying and experimenting things. At first, I wanted to be cautious, and I missed a lot of opportunities this way. So I think it's really good to just degen and cautiously in a way, like experiment stuff, you know, like just so many ways. Like also like we've seen it in Bitcoin, you're just being rewarded by trying and experimenting, and I think that's a good idea.
That's exactly what Genie did because you guys know we have a heat map, right? And so we were really just experimenting the resilience of the platform, and we spotted Ordi, Sats, Rats, and they were good. They were treating us good. But honestly, we were just like test them out. But I mean, yeah. It's important to experiment, but with cautious, right? I think that's the idea that we got from those degens. Yes. So I mean, it has been a lot of innovations and new ideas been going on since the last year, right? I mean, also I think Atomicals was different when they just arise, right? And also many layer 2s arise as well. So I want to talk about, you have seen a lot of things going on, innovations, elevations, right? What do you think about those innovations and how you think, through those changes, what is the future of those things?
Sure. I don't think I want to go into the technical detail because, Bitcoin Asia...
Yes, please, go hardcore.
But I want to talk about the use case. So far, on Bitcoin base layer, the use case is NFT meme coins, which drive a lot of attention, and liquidity. But essentially, we are just rebuilding Vegas, Macau on Bitcoin. Is that right? So this is a really good way to build a new city, attract the people, to attract the money. But is that it? So now I think we can finally build, because we have the traffic, now we can build a commerce, we can build maybe finance, we can even build industry. So what our team is really bullish about is, can we do DeFi, the BTC file on layer 1. Of course, there are a lot of the BTC file on layer 2, and they will go to the, whether you trust some third party because you send your coin to some wallet not controlled by, your own private key. I won't go to that route. But if you look at some technology, for example, Babylon, right? You can actually, without moving your treasures set out of your own wallet, and then get some token, on other chain, right? There's some other protocol building similar technology. So that is what we focus much on, because there are two type of asset or wealth creation. One is like all these, that's why we all said here, the NFT, Ordinal, and also NFT on Atomical, as well as the rooms. But the second type of wealth generation is the yield. Look at BTC. So today, actually, you can stake your BTC in central exchange, like Binance. You get maybe 5, 6% you're lending out. And also, you can do DeFi if you bridge your BTC with WBTC. You know how much WBTC on Ethereum? Actually, I think it's 15,000 BTC on Ethereum. And that can generate a lot of value if you look at like Compound, Aave. So, for those part, it's actually not being talked a lot during this Bitcoin and Renaissance. But I think the next big wave is those kind of silent BTC will get activated with the new builder building some new technology on like Bitcoin, especially Bitcoin layer 1. And of course, for Atomical, we really bullish about, because there will be a new technology called Atomical Virtual Machine, the AVM for short. Basically, you're going to have the Turing-complete smart contract available very soon on Bitcoin layer 1. Then developer can start writing smart contract for Bitcoin assets. So you can do like staking, you can do swap, and then enable all sorts of scenario. And so for now, we are already create a casino, Vegas, Macau on Bitcoin. Can we recreate Hong Kong, recreate Tokyo, recreate London, even New York? We will probably do that in the coming future.
Yeah, I just wanted to double down on some of the stuff that you said. Like, I think when you look at the space, right, like, start with the why. Like, the casino's got it gets people excited. It's the movie trailer for what's coming. And I think if you take a step back, what's happening is people want to put their Bitcoin to work, have fun with the asset. And I think you touched on WBTC. There's only like $10 billion of WBTC on ETH, and 80% doesn't really move. And I forget the stat, but I think 70% plus of Bitcoin supply hasn't moved wallets in 12 months. So if you think about that ecosystem, a lot of that money hasn't moved that aggressively. We saw a wave. It was generally centralized last cycle, where BlockFi, Zach Prince was making the pitch, Celsius were hey, earn yield on Bitcoin. Then you had the Ren BTC, WBTC kind of come out of the woodwork and allow that for DeFi. And a lot of that's kind of died down. And now it's kind of coming back to the mother chain of like, how do we build these applications on Bitcoin in a trustless manner to not repeat some of the mistakes of Christmas past? And I think it's going to be interesting to see what applications happen. I think the casino is the perfect flywheel. Like, get people to talk about stuff, get us excited. Like, do you think we would have been speaking about Bitcoin a year ago at this level? Like, everyone thought, like, we thought we were spamming the network with Ordinals, and that's shifted to, I think there's like 100 Bitcoin L2s launching today. So, how times change.
Come on, Zach. Talk about layer 2s a bit. Is there any innovation there? This is a hard question.
Yeah, there's definitely some innovation and definitely some zeros for sure. But I think like I agree 100%. Like 18 months ago, like when inscriptions first started, I could not have imagined there would be this much activity. Like the spillover from inscriptions to BRC20s to runes to new layer 2s. And I think there's I think people underestimate who are new like in the past 2 years or so how dead Bitcoin was for the past like 4 years. Ever since DeFi summer, the rest of the ecosystem has just catapulted forward by light years, and nothing happened on Bitcoin at all, really. Now a lot of things are happening. A lot of very cool projects, a lot of very shitty projects. But I think our job is to focus on the good projects. There's a lot of I guess let me put it this way. I don't want to live in a world where there's only one layer 2 on Bitcoin, and I think there's more than enough Bitcoin in the world to go around to support a bunch of different layer 2 ecosystems. So our job is to make Bitcoin cool again with multiple different approaches to layer 2s, squeeze out the scams, attract liquidity from Ethereum, Solana, wherever, back to Bitcoin, and build cool stuff that people want to use, whether it's pure gambling or maybe more serious enterprises. But I am very enthused by the cacophony of new layer 2s that are being built. I think the future for Bitcoin is much, much brighter, like by orders of magnitude now than it was 18 months ago. And I'm excited to see where we are here in a year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I wanted to double down on a point you mentioned. Even like 8 months ago, like if you're at Bitcoin Amsterdam, and there's like a couple here that I've seen, Bitcoin was so dead where people that were trying to raise for Ordinals and Bitcoin scaling solutions, the VCs were like, no one builds on Bitcoin. Like, it's been 8 years, we've seen projects, there's no ROI, like, go build an EVM chain. And, 6 months later, congratulations. And, everyone that's been raising, it's funny how quickly that window changes and how quickly people's mindset changes. Like, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like for us, like we have been finding it very, very hard. Being a builder, I'm sure a lot of you guys will resonate. It's really hard to catch up with the changes in BTC ecosystem. It's just so much changes every day, new things coming up every day, and that's why we, as builders, influencers, OGs, I mean, we have been working so hard for the last year, right? Do you feel the same way? Like we don't really sleep? Yeah. I mean, I think the last question I'm going to project to the future. I mean, we all feel BTC deserve an ecosystem, right? A much bigger one. What are we looking for in the coming bull run? If there's like a really short answer to that, like what would you, point out to those people? Like, what are we looking for as an alpha or new things? What are we looking at?
Yeah, I can start. I think we can look at how Ethereum kind of go through. We just went through the ICO era, for the last 18 months. All the new coins, NFT can be considered that. But the coming, the really bull case is the BTC Fi. BTC finally can put into reals, right? So we have 1 trillion BTC, right? And how much on WBTC, and how much on those layer 2, and how much is on layer 1. You can start doing the yield. So BTC Fi, I think, is something really big for yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think for me, it's there's all these I think seeing legitimate projects execute and actually go live. Like we announced Mezzo a month ago. We have Botanics, Bob. All these projects going live, and I think them kicking off practical applications and actual use cases beyond just casinos for Bitcoin, and kind of leaning into what you mentioned, like Bitcoin finance. I think DeFi summer on Bitcoin is going to be very exciting, but we need to have a chain that operates. We need to have a bridge that gets people there. And yeah, excited to kind of see how the narratives play out over the next 2 years.
For sure, BTC summer with DeFi will be extremely big, but the biggest alpha is books on Bitcoin. I gotta say it, like on different art forms on Bitcoin, we've been like focused too much on like paintings, you know? Like we gotta look elsewhere. There's 10 art forms, and books on Bitcoin is the alpha. You heard it here first.
Yeah, okay. Great.
I think the one thing I'm looking for is, like, basically we've been talking about this whole panel, like Bitcoin to have a second sort of life, a revival, to take the lead in the industry again. Bitcoin used to be the gateway to how you would explore all the rest of crypto. You'd buy Bitcoin, put it on Counterparty, Poloniex, BitMEX, whatever it was, and gamble, invest, trade. And that, you know, is not the case anymore. But everything that's happened over the past 18 months is positioning Bitcoin to reclaim the lead in the industry through, yeah, inscriptions, runes, new layer 2s, and, you know, who knows what else is going to be built in the next year or 2 years by the next halving even. So I'm excited and expecting Bitcoin to take the lead again and be, you know, not just the #1 asset by market value, but the #1 asset by opportunities and builder activity, intellectual capital in the industry, all things that it's kind of like lost over the past few years.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, I know a lot of people are talking about runes, but I think it's still so early right now. We have only been here for 2 weeks, and yeah, and we've been launching runes on Gene Data since, you know, day one. We prepared the product like 3 months ago, and Casey is definitely alpha, and I think everybody loves Casey. So yeah, I mean, we're very bullish on that. So in general, I think BTC-Fi, experience everything, and go with cautious, right? Yeah. Well, thank you again for everyone for attending this panel. Thank you for your super insightful opinions. Thank you again,
Thanks.
and thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Coco crushing it. Well done. Really interesting insights. Thank you, gentlemen. Our final panel of the day, we're going to be talking about choosing Bitcoin as a canvas by artists for art. Kaboom Town, we have our moderator, co-founder, and CEO of NFT Now, Matt Medved. Matt, you here? There's Matt. Awesome. Joining Matt on the stage is AI artist Bianca Tse and co-founder and CEO of Live Art, my buddy Boris Pevsner. Warm Ordinals welcome for this crew. Come on up, everybody. I guess Bianca is going to make her way up. Bianca? Oh, maybe not. So maybe it's a fireside chat.
It might be.
All right, excellent. Over to you guys.
Right. Perfect. GM, everyone. Welcome. Are you still with us out there? Ordinals Asia. That was pretty weak, honestly. Are you still out here for us, Ordinals Asia? Come on. There we go. Last panel of the day. Let's get it. I'm Matt Medved, co-founder, CEO, and editor-in-chief of Now Media, home to brands like NFT Now, The Gateway, and Sovereignty. And we've got a great chat today. We've got Boris from Live Art, and we're going to get talking about Bitcoin as a canvas for art. So why don't we start, Boris, just give maybe a brief introduction so the audience has context, and we can jump in.
Sounds good. Can you hear me? Oh,
I can hear you.
Perfect. Hi, guys. I'm Boris Pevsner. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Live Art. And what we do at Live Art, and you can see it over there on the screen, we bring the world's most famous artists, the most established artists, to Web3, usually for the first time. Sometimes we do multiple projects with them. Actually, usually we do. But that's essentially the main mission of Live Art. Now, about myself, I'm a serial entrepreneur, so it's actually my 5th company, but it's actually my 2nd company related to art. The first one was completely in the established or legacy art world. It was called Collectrium. I sold it to Christie's and then spent a whole bunch of time at Christie's, really in the belly of the beast, really kind of establishing those connections to the world's top artists in the world's top auction house or the top art business. And then I went off, did other things, started other companies, and then when the Web3 happened, and I actually got into crypto through Bitcoin, and then of course Ethereum and NFTs, and then coming back to Bitcoin now through Ordinals really feels like a homecoming. So this is pretty awesome, and I'm sure we'll talk more about the collection that we're launching today. But this is my background.
Absolutely, we will. One thing, that I think we have in common is that we both got into crypto through Bitcoin, right? I remember buying my first Bitcoin in 2013. I was the top signal. I bought the top of the market. It crashed like 2 weeks later. And I know you were 2017, was it? 2017. And I think that one thing that's really interesting is what we're seeing is a whole new generation kind of rediscovering Bitcoin. I know, for example, when I started NFT Now in 2021, a lot of people I know got into the NFT space and went straight to Ethereum because that's where they could buy NFTs. And Bitcoin didn't necessarily have an appeal to them or a reason for them to really be involved in that ecosystem. With the rise of Ordinals, that's changed. And I think what we're seeing is this whole new generation kind of being like, wait a minute, like, rediscovering, this ecosystem, rediscovering Bitcoin. And I'm curious, like, what are you seeing in that regard, given that you've also been in the space, since 2017 there?
Yeah, no, it's an amazing thing to see. And as I said, for me personally, it feels like a bit of a homecoming. But the community is just so much more hardcore and passionate than it is, than generally speaking, the NFT community. The NFT community so far, at least that's my observation, is much larger than the Ordinals community. At least that's what we feel, right? When we publish, we used to publish an edition of a famous artist on Ethereum. It was much quicker to sell out a larger additional size. Whereas on Ordinals, it's still a smaller community, but it's a very discerning community and a very passionate community. So that we're definitely seeing. But for me, it's really exciting to be a part of this community because it's growing. This is sort of like when NFTs were, when some years ago, right? Pre-bubble. And this is where we are today. So just generally speaking, being part of a growth story is always the most exciting time to be.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I've been hearing, talking to a lot of people here, is this energy in the Ordinals community, this energy that kind of feels like 2020, 2021, like NFTs, but it's got a little bit of a different feel because it taps into a different, community in some ways too. Like what are you seeing in that regard?
Well, and that I think also kind of ties into another dimension, what the artists see in it and why the artists are coming to it, which
exactly.
I guess, sort of what this panel is about. Fireside chat is about.
Right?
I think those two questions are actually related. What the artists see, right, when they want to go into Ordinals. And, we work with the most established artists. There's artists that have 200, 300, $500 million market caps. If you want to quantify an artist and look at all of the artworks that the artist has ever made and their current prices, that is sort of like a market cap. So those are artists with a huge market cap, with a huge audience, and in many cases, actually in all cases, they're extensively collected by museums. Museums are the ultimate sort of permanent storage of an artist's work. So from the artist's perspective, permanence and longevity of their artworks are super important. So these kinds of artists, they expect their artworks to far outlive them, right? They expect those artworks to be enjoyed by collectors, for hundreds of years. And so when they extend their practice to digital, the question is, well, where do I put an artwork that would have the same kind of permanence, not going to be canceled, it's not going to go away, it's not going to disappear for potentially hundreds of years. So, initially they thought, well, NFTs sounds pretty good, but then now they've been educated, they understand that not all NFTs on chains that are going to be, last forever. So then that naturally, step by step, gradually leads them to Bitcoin, the Bitcoin blockchain, and now to Ordinals, because it's pretty much the only place, it's the only game in town from a point of view of an artist like this, where they can house, where the art will be safe, will be enjoyed potentially for hundreds of years by collectors. It's going to be non-cancelable, and basically is going to persist. Not to mention that, this is where it's on chain, whereas in many cases an NFT on other chains, it is not in fact on chain. Sometimes it is, but most of the cases it isn't.
I love that. Well, one thing that's interesting too, and I'd love to dive in, is like obviously we have seen, since the launch of Ordinals, we've seen rapid growth in terms of infrastructure and the like around it. We've come a long way since 2023, but like it's still relatively nascent. It's still relatively new, and you're talking to these these legacy artists from the traditional world, the traditional artists from the legacy world, however you want to call it, who who may not necessarily always be familiar with the latest technology, with everything there. Like, what is that process like to kind of help them understand it? And are there any sort of challenges that you've encountered in terms of like bringing them, to cross that divide?
Absolutely. So this is kind of our specialty, to talk to artists. Why? Well, because fundamentally we have credibility, right? We come from the art world as well as from the Web3 world. We are sitting on the intersection of the two. And so all this background from Christie's, and my co-founder was actually the chief operating officer of Sotheby's. So we have both Christie's and Sotheby's covered. Just that background makes artists comfortable. So right away they're comfortable with us. Of course, it's not enough. You also have to show to them that digital is the way to go. But at least we're starting from that basis. That's very helpful. Now, the next thing is their general interest. They're artists. So they would like to expand their practice from their perspective, to different media. So they may be working in other more traditional media, legacy media. So they may have paintings, right? They may have works on paper. They may have sculptures. And that market is very important to them. But that's the kind of the media in which they're already comfortable and they've been working for some time. Now there is this new digital medium, and all of them are interested in new media for a number of reasons, right? Because it brings new collectors, it brings new price points, it brings new creative possibilities. So new media is great. Now, it's not like the digital medium is new. It's been around for many, many years. But it's only now that it's become a viable medium for artists. Why? Because it can, through the magic of blockchain, it can be unique, it can be rare, and that's what makes it suitable for art. So now we have this exciting new medium that is also suitable for art at the same time, and so artists, generally speaking, are interested in it, right? So that's the second point. Now then, the third point is getting the art right? So it's not just, the artist suddenly became a digital artist. Those legacy artists, they do not necessarily, know how to use a computer in many cases. Right, so they need help. So for this reason, we have this NFT studio that helps them to make art that, on one hand, is authentic from the perspective of the artist, right? It extends the existing artist's art practice. And on the other hand, is also authentic from the Web2, Web3 perspective, whatever community it is made for. So authentic from the Ordinals community, from the Bitcoin community perspective, authentic from the Ethereum perspective. There are more steps, but let me pause here.
No, that's good. That's good. Well, I know that we covered the Yu Minjun release, Human. I'd love to hear a little bit about that project, right? And your work with them. Like, what was that like to bring an artist of that stature into the space, and specifically on Ordinals?
Sure, that's actually a very interesting case because Ordinals is his third entry into the digital universe. So the first entry was more traditional. It was on Ethereum. I know just from walking around that there are many collectors of that Ethereum edition that are here, and we made it as accessible as we could. So on one hand, right, we chose the most iconic image. This is the laughing man. You can probably see it on the screen. From where you are, this laughing man character is an iconic character, the character that probably is recognized everywhere in the world. It's in major museums around the world. So we made that iconic character the centerpiece. And then we made it sort of PFP-esque so that it appeals to the Ethereum crowd. And, it was a huge success. So the artist, not just it was a huge success in terms of selling out in 2 hours, but also the artist gained a whole new community. And I think there's one of the slides there that shows that community. And the community is super important because from the artist's perspective, this legacy artist, in most cases, their community consists of legacy art collectors. Those collectors don't share, right? They do not display their art. It's kind of boring from the point of view of the artist. This new breed of collectors in Web3 is completely different, right? Those collectors, they share. Sometimes they overshare. Right? So there are these unboxing videos and unboxing, photos all over Twitter where people show what they bought. So that was amazing. From the artist's point of perspective, it's like he acquired a lot of collectors of this new breed. So that was awesome. Now, after that, what turned, it was sort of a surprise for us, but many of those collectors, those digital collectors, said that, well, we want to put something on the wall. We did not expect it at all. We thought we were in a completely digital business. But they said, well, we want a print of our NFT that we hold. So we went back to the artist and he said, well, how about we do a print for the holders and you sign it and it becomes an official print. So if you look at any catalog of that artist, that print is now in that catalog. So it's a signed print by the artist. So now all the holders also got something to put on their wall. And there are many more unboxing videos on Twitter. So there's a community is getting even more excited. And so this Ordinals drop is the third venture of this particular artist. And now the community is much larger, right? So there is this original NFT community plus the print community and now the Ordinals community. So that's kind of how it came about. But specifically about this drop, it was very difficult to get it right because we had to not just get it right from the point of view of the artist, right? From the point of view of his art, but also from the point of view of the Ordinals community. So many of the traits in this drop are related to some of the famous collections, Ordinals collections that many of you would know. And so as that NFT edition gets revealed, there will be many similarities. There will be many echoes, not just to Human June's art, but also to the Ordinals community and to various collections that are already out there.
One of the things I'd love to touch on too is like what are the factors that are most important for an artist who's entering the ordinal space to succeed? Because remember, like, if you go back to 2020, 2021, during the bull run, where a lot of artists were coming from Web 2 into Web 3, minting on ETH, and they weren't necessarily like. Success in Web 2 did not determine success in Web 3, right? There were a lot of factors at play. I'm curious, like, what are the factors in the ordinal space as you look to bring these legacy artists into this new space with, as you said, new collectors?
Well, number one is the artist has to be excited about it. The artist has to participate. So Human June has been on many AMAs and Twitter spaces with the community, so that's super important. And pretty much every successful project that we have done has this one thing in common, that the artist is into it, right? The artist is not just into the digital art that we co-create with him, but it's also into the community and really wants to connect with the community. And I can't overemphasize how refreshing it is for the artist to connect with this new kind of community. It's like, for those of you who are not familiar with the traditional art world, it's really kind of stale, right? And so from there, and the collectors may like it, those legacy collectors, but the artists don't really, right? The artist is kind of boring, right? Because you go to these gallery openings and, collectors buy your work and then they keep it to themselves and they put it on the wall, but nobody can see it. And, something's donated to a museum and the museum puts it in storage. It's sort of, this legacy world from an artist's perspective sometimes is not fun. This new community is fun, right? It's excited, it's passionate, it shares, it overshares. So that is super important. And so from the artist's perspective, that's, on one hand, they kind of have to connect with the community to make this project successful. On the other hand, it's exciting to them to do that because they're building a completely new collecting audience. So that's one. The second thing, aesthetically, it has to look Ordinals. It has to look Web3. And so you will see that while the main character, the iconic character, is unchanged, right, because that echoes the traditional art, of this artist. The background is very Ordinals. It's very Web3. It's kind of pixelated. It echoes many of the existing Ordinals collections. So there is a lot of back and forth between the traditional art world and the new Web3 Ordinals art world. And so that is super important as well. If you don't get the art right, if it sort of looks too legacy, then it's not going to be successful. If it looks too unauthentic to the artist's previous work, then it's not going to have this iconic quality. People will not recognize it. So it has to be both. It has to be both iconic and recognizable, and also Web3 and Ordinals native.
Makes a lot of sense. Obviously, one of the biggest stories over the past month has been the launch of Runes. How are you thinking about the intersection of Runes and the art world and what you're doing?
Well, we're going to, I guess, break some news here.
We love the alpha. Let's go. That's what we're in the business of breaking news.
All right, awesome. So we launched this collection to see on the screen yesterday, and I think it's very substantially sold out already. And what we're going to announce, if we haven't already, I don't think we have, so I guess we're announcing it here.
There we go.
Probably.
Let's go.
And on Twitter, it's going to appear in a couple of hours, but you guys get a bit ahead of schedule here. We are going to airdrop a rune to every holder. So to every holder that purchased it, and every holder that will purchase as the collection continues to sell out. We're very excited about runes. We're very excited about this intersection between the ordinals and runes and the community. We think that's a great way to add more dynamism to the ordinals collections that we publish, and so we are planning to lean into it all the way, starting now.
There it is. You heard it here first. Last question. What do you have coming up on the live art side? What should people be paying attention to? What are kind of like those future initiatives?
Well, the most exciting thing, of course, to us is new artists that we're going to be introducing. Now, we're doing multiple projects with every artist, and that's because, as the community develops for every artist, we have a fairly large community. We have 1.2 million people in our community. We have about 300-something thousand on Twitter alone. So that community is following all of the different artists that we are publishing. But then, in addition to that, right? For every artist, we have a sub-community on Discord and on other venues. And so that sub-community is becoming essentially fans of the artist. And so with every artist, we do multiple drops. It's almost like, from the NFT perspective, you could say that it adds to the utility of the NFT because there is additional access to future drops and so on. So very, very, very rarely we do just a single project with an artist. We usually do multiple. And so you can expect that Yumin Jun is going to do something very exciting next. I already know what it is. I can't quite say it yet, but it's going to be pretty awesome. And that's one. And then there are, currently we have 12 other artists that we are working with. So over the course of the next 3 months or so, there will be probably 6 to 9 launches with artists of similar caliber, right? Really artists who are super successful with iconic imagery that are going to start entering Web3 for the first time. It's really our specialty. So that's the first thing, the first class of things, I guess, that I'm excited about. The second is that we recently introduced the point system, so that provides additional incentives for the communities and additional rewards. So please learn all about it on our website. And then the third thing that I'm slightly excited about is that we're going to launch our token called the Art Token. That's going to happen at some point later this summer.
There it is. We are out of time. Everyone, give it up for Boris.
Thank you.
Super exciting. Thank you, guys. Man, does this guy look like he should have worked at Sotheby's or Christie's? Because he did. He's legit art guy bridging into the world of Ordinals and Web3, and I absolutely love it. And speaking of art, we're going to keep it going. We're going to bring up, I'm going to spread this apart here. Thank you, gentlemen, so you can see Asprey Studio and AOI. AOI, are you here, AOI? There's AOI and Alistair, Chief Creative Officer of Asprey Studio. Do we have 2 hot mics? I don't even know which one this is. Maybe make them all hot. There you go. Guys, we're going to do closing remarks from AOI and Alistair from Asprey Studio. Thanks very much. Over to you guys.
Everybody, thank you for coming to an incredible day of art on Bitcoin Talks. Over to you, Alistair.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming. Buy Bitcoin, I think is the main thing. Have a look at the egg. It's OG on Ordinals. And thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. And you know what? You guys are so early in the digital art space with Bitcoin. You guys, everyone here is a pioneer. And thank you for coming, and have a lovely day, and see you at the party.
Thank you.
And indeed, the flock can go up to the top floor at the main stage. Casey, our fearless leader of Ordinals, is going to give the closing remarks. So please make your way up the stairs or by elevator. And thank you for coming out.